After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
After a wild outing on the streets in Montreal last week, we're on to the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Pro and Pro-Am leads are becoming far-fetched, but the Am battle is as close as ever, with teammates controlling the series. Who can tame the Art of Bricks in round 6 and walk away with the lead tonight? We're about to find out on Pit Stop TV. Hi, and welcome to Pitstop TV and the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Emerson Arden this evening. Heading into the final days of July, iRacing gave us a new configuration at Indianapolis, the new road course. It's on display for the first time tonight, Emerson, and that's a curveball for everybody for a whole lot of reasons. This is a brand new service. It's a whole, not service, but surface. It's a whole lot more slick. It's a bit of a different configuration, and teams had to get on testing pretty quick after the release on Monday, so definitely a condensed week for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. I mean, when you look at it, teams have had less than 90 hours from the moment this track released, or this layout released on the sim, to now. So in those 90 hours, let's see who's prepared for the best, right? That's what we're here to do and figure out. And by the way, it's a fantastic venue. There's a lot of passing opportunities and a lot of opportunities for drivers to really show off their skills. And I can't wait to get into it.
It's going to be an exciting one here this afternoon, I think. Afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call it. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway always puts on good racing, no matter what the configuration might be, but especially with this brand new road course that you can see here, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. And, you know, you can joke around and say it's a chicane, a couple of sweepers, a chicane, a 90-degree left, a chicane, a couple of sweepers, a big chicane and a sweeper, but each and every corner here has a purpose, I feel like, and especially with this shorter configuration, if you will, of this road course, I feel like it flows a lot more nicely. It's a lot faster. There's, I think, more opportunity for racing. It used to be, you know, you'd hang a right where you actually turn left now for that backstretch chicane in turn 5. You would hang a right and do an extra kind of carousel loop, and it really broke things up. I think in high downforce cars it was okay for Formula 1 and such, but for lower downforce cars like NASCAR stock cars or even Porsche Cup cars like we have this evening, this is a better configuration. And on the old track, on the old road course here, the fastest Porsche GT3 Cup lap was a 1:25.574, and you would think, taking away that whole section of road course, Emerson, we would actually have much faster lap times here this evening. Well, not so much, because we added turn 13, or turn 12, 13, and 14, and are not just taking the IndyCar oval back around to the start-finish line. We're actually adding that time back on, so our fast laps in practice are actually slower than that lap record at a 1:25. Our fastest laps in practice, a 1:26.766 and a 1:26.8. So right, almost bang on that lap time. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a fun track, couple passing zones. Then you're right, it flows really well. I think 12, 13, 14, it's a nice little section. Intriguing section because it takes a lot of focus and finesse. And 13, it's honestly a little tighter than what it seems. But we're going to go into the point standings here. And still tight here for the amateur standings.
Yeah, your amateur standings on screen. Chase Wilson at 194 points. Drew Swank, his teammate, only 4 points back after they went 1-2 at Montreal last week. Bobby Flack, 5 points back, and Kevin Simpson, after a disastrous outing in Montreal, drops to 16 points out of the points lead. Ronaldo Carlos there at 17 back, and you can see there's a theme of you got 16, 17, 18, 19 back for Simpson, Carlos, Bertrand, and Sanchez. They're all on top of each other, Emerson, each separated by 1 point to the next, and they are really going to do some battle, and I think move around a lot in these standings. Then Brandon Louvier checks into the top 10 along with Milan Harris and Ilya Speaker. They're all very close, and it's not like David Stevenson is all that far back and out of the top 10. And there's even a three-way tie further down with a two-way tie right above them. Scott Angelo and Matthew O'Leary both at 59 points behind the leader, 15th and 16th, and then Thomas Amos, Michael Clark, and Armando Bejaran all 60 points out of the point lead. That's going to be exciting here in this amateur class.
Absolutely. And again, these standings just kind of show that it can be anyone's week, kind of any given week. Everybody's kind of very close in points, right? And there's a lot of ties, so a lot of people racing one another very often. And again, that's going to just continue tonight.
Pro standings now on screen. Dino Filippa comes into tonight with now 15 points, back to Victor Miranda, so a bit of a larger buffer there. You can see a 15-point buffer on the Pro-Am side as well for Scott Reister over Ryan Kerr. We'll talk more about those standings here in a little while, but that's a kind of a preview of what we'll see in here in just a little bit. On track now, though, amateur qualifying, Emerson. First good look at these Porsche Cup cars around the road course at Indianapolis. This is Wyatt Brackett headed out of turn 14 and down to the start-finish line. Let's try and find somebody and go for a full lap with them. maybe a little bit. Well, you know what? Let's start with John Kroom, car 45. This is down to the heavy braking zone into turn 1. It's a long front stretch here, not quite as long though as the oval. Once you head through the hard braking zone and right-hander of turn 1 into the left-hander at turn 2, the exit is rather slick. Then turn 3 and 4, also a bit slick. Going to be tricky to hold the rear end underneath these guys tonight. In turn 4, very odd. It's just odd in general. The backstretch chicane. 5 and 6 here. You got to hit that first curve and try not to hit the second curve, but if you do, it's usually okay in a car like this with some ground clearance. Down this backstretch, letting the legs stretch out to turn 7, another hard braking zone, and left-hander this time, about the inverse of turn number 1. That heads you into turn 8 and 9. Another chicane kind of complex, if you will. It's mostly the same as the old course, just changed a little bit with some new pavement and some new curbing, and turn 10 is a whole lot nicer, and this gets you back on the throttle here. John Kroom all the way down around this sweeper of turn 11, then right up onto the oval just in time to hit the brakes for turn number 12. Very tough here. You gotta not hit that curbing if you can avoid it. Turn 13, it feels like you can go so much faster, Emerson, but that tightening apex really catches a lot of drivers out. I know that was a big problem for me getting ready for this event. And turn 14, it's mostly on throttle, but you've got to be careful with your steering angle.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's just, it seems simple on paper. Like you said, a bunch of 90-degree corners, you know, chicanes and sweepers, but it's all very technical, especially with the way they are all kind of strung together here. We're looking at Milan Harris. He's working his way into, I think, one of my favorite sections of this track, the 7, 8, 9, 10 complex. With all these, oh yeah, a lot of flowing, a lot of these 90-degree corners, and this is a tough corner. You got to nail that exit with Kevin Simpson. Now he's heading here, I believe this is turn 11, and back onto the oval. A very tricky braking zone here because you're coming onto the oval, you're kind of gaining all that speed, and then right onto the brakes into a heavy braking zone. It's almost, it just comes up really quick after you get flat onto the banking.
And this will now put him back up onto the banking for just a moment out of IndyCar turn 1 and back onto the oval. And across the start-finish line, Kevin Simpson will turn another lap, and that'll be his second, it looks like. And Ronaldo Carlos will now go to the top of the board. How about that for car 22? We're seeing some times flow in. Most of these guys into their second or third laps now. Carlos just wrapped up his first flying lap ever since, so we've got some more heaters coming from car 22. Milan Harris also quick. He was on pole for a moment. How about Chris Sanchez looking pretty good in car 5?
Yeah, again, little flirty with it. That outside, that exit curbing out of turn 1. And again, you're thrown right into a left-hander at turn 2. Very, very tough section. But Sanchez has no problem with it. He's underway into the top. He drops down to 5th as Kroom goes up to 4th. And seeing if he can improve upon his
Chase Wilson.
This time by. Oh, second.
Chase Wilson moves to the second spot. His teammate Drew Swank mired down there in position number 7 for now. Right behind Chris Sanchez, and now behind Bobby Flack, who just went faster in car 88. Bobby's been getting a whole lot better lately. He is really turning up the wick this season in particular. He's just gotten so much better for Empire Racing. I'm not sure what the influence has been. Potentially some coaching from Aradnis. I'm not sure, but Bobby has gotten so much better this season. It's really exciting to see what these guys can now do at Empire Racing. I feel like it's been a complete flip of the switch. Seriously, for car 88 and everybody else over there. And I think Scott Reister is another example of how those guys have turned things around at Empire Racing. A rough couple of seasons, and now Scott Reister's leading the Pro-Am standings, so some good stuff going on there. Here's Sully Sad as Kevin Simpson goes up to second, and Ronaldo Carlos goes even faster. Ilya Speaker currently the final car in the top 10. Let's see if Ilya can go faster across the line. It's a little bit faster. Is it for another position, though? Well, it was until David Stevenson went up to the 9th position.
It's great. You're seeing all these times. They're all relatively close to one another. We have, 14 within a second, 13 within a second. And again, it's you know, a new layout. That 5-6 chicane has been throwing a wrench into things. It's been hard to hit it wide open a lot of times. I think it's a little bit easier with the Porsche Cup cars. And look at Benjamin here coming up to turn 12. Very difficult corner. You want to miss that curbing, and then that grass that just comes right at you.
Chase Wilson nearly went to pole just now, going to a 126.417 behind Ronaldo Carlos's 126.388, and Ronaldo's still on track. Chase put down his final lap time. Let's see what Ronaldo Carlos can do here. Down to turn number 12. Heavy braking zone there. Pops the curbing. I'm surprised about that, Emerson. And turn 13, very, very tough. We're going to see a lot of mistakes right here, I think, in turn 13. It's so tough to carry speed through there and not run out into the grass. So I did that a lot. And it didn't matter what car I brought here to test this place. I kept overrunning turn 13. I suspect we'll have some issues with that tonight as Ronaldo goes a bit slow there his final lap, but we'll stay on pole.
Sanchez.
It seems like their good times had to come early as Stevenson goes for the 5th spot on his 2nd lap. I wonder if weather's playing into that at all, Emerson. 75 degrees in the air, 92 on track. It's warm, but it's not hot.
Yeah, it's fairly racy. I think 90-degree track temp. It's got some heat in it. Get those tires up to temp relatively quickly, but it's not unbearable. You're not out there just trying to hang on for any bit of grip. It's raceable. And I think prime racing conditions, we can have a lot of fun with this tonight. New pavement, a lot of factors here to help these drivers out with these Porsche Cup cars around here, and again, very racy track.
On board with Brandon Louvier, position 16 currently in qualifying. That said, he's not going to go any faster. His times are already done for the afternoon. Not many drivers on track with an opportunity to go faster, but one of them is David Stevenson. Let's see. Well, he is out of turn 10, now turn 11, so this will be a final opportunity for anybody to go faster. He's the only driver left on track with a chance to do so. 4.5 tenths off of pole currently, a 126.839 speaking for him. The next position ahead is 1.5 tenths ahead. That would be Milan Harris in 4th place. Oh, that might have been a little bit of grass on exit, but Stevenson carrying a lot of speed back onto the oval. Let's see if he can go any faster. And no, he knew it wasn't going to count. That's all she's got.
Wow. I think it did count. Actually,
it counted, right, but it didn't go any faster. Is what I meant.
Right. Yeah. It looked like he was cooking that final section, though. He was on trying to make up whatever time he could.
Let's talk more about those amateur standings and kind of how this is going to play out on the start of this race. Chase Wilson starting from 2nd place. He leads the points, so no real worries there. We'll see what he can do down to turn 1, though Bobby Flack comes in 3rd in the standings. He's starting from the 8th spot, but that's 2 positions ahead of Drew Swank, so directly in front of Drew Swank, actually. So that's a good switch already for Bobby Flack for the start of this race. Kevin Simpson, somebody who needs a lot of points, Emerson, has led a lot of this season coming into this weekend. He really needs points to get back up on the seat after Montreal last week. He's starting 3rd. That's going to help him, but the problem is Ronaldo Carlos, who's just behind him in standings, is starting 1st. So you can see where the talent is staying up towards the top of this field. I think the one exception is going to be Stacy Bertrand starting 13th. Chris Sanchez is even up towards the front. Stacy's starting spot actually concerns me a little bit for her race. We'll see what she can do, again, starting from that 13th position. Let's go down to the starting grid. On pole is Ronaldo Carlos in car 22, and that's the wrong graphic. That's the right one. Car 22 on pole this evening. Chase Wilson will start from the 2nd spot, car 13. There we go. Starting 3rd, though, is Kevin Simpson in car 606. Milan Harris in car 69 starts from the 4th spot. Starting 5th is David Stevenson in the 55, then John Kroom in the 45 and 6th. And to finish out your top 10, 4 more cars, it's Scott Angelo, Bobby Flack, Chris Sanchez, and Drew Swank.
Back to row number 6 will be Diego Eda in the 77, Ilias Speaker there in the 12th position. Row number 7, it'll be Stacy Bertrand, Andrew just mentioned, and Sully Sad. They will be starting 14th. 15th, Billy Bowerman, and Brandon Olivier will round out row 8 there in 16th. Back to 17th, it'll be Matthew O'Leary and Armando Bejaran there in 18th. And back to row number 10, it'll be Dan Willis and Philip Bedurka.
Starting 21st, Thomas Amos in car 9, Mike Braun to his left side this evening. Starting 23rd, it'll be Joe Nagy in car 777, Joshua Benjamin from 24th position in your back row this evening at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Wyatt Brackett and Kerry Corcoran. So 26 cars in all for the amateur race tonight, 2.39, 2.4 miles, 3.85 kilometers or so here at Indianapolis and Speedway, Indiana. It's always a good time to be at Indy, and we are excited to get things rolling. Looks like these guys are waiting on a couple of drivers to turn up. Chris Sanchez, Drew Swank, maybe. Yeah, it looks like Drew Swank not in his car just yet, and maybe one other, maybe Mike Braun or Armando Bejaran further in the back of the field. But guys maybe making some adjustments to their steering. And actually, that's a first. I didn't expect that. We have a pace car on track. Are we... I guess we're rolling start. This is new for the series. We don't usually have rolling starts. I think there's some confusion as well from the drivers. They were not expecting a rolling start. We usually have standing starts, so that's different. We'll see if that's maybe adjusted for the Pro-Am race, but it looks like we're going to go with a rolling start tonight here at Indianapolis. Definitely different, Emerson, but it changes things a little bit in a good way.
Yeah, certainly. It's intriguing. I think it'll be fun. It adds another aspect there, right? Half of this field is going to be coming up onto the banking by the time we get rolling here. So there's going to be a lot of drivers having to get straightened out there in the back of the pack, and then you're going to have a rolling start. You're going to have a run down into turn 1, and if you have any chance at trying to pressure, gain some spots into turn 1, that I guess gets amplified. Everybody kind of rolling at the same speed. There's a chance for more chaos.
It does give us a chance while we're rating here to look at some trouble spots here in Indianapolis. One of them is going to be right here, this chicane on the backstretch. I'm really concerned as to how these guys are going to navigate through here the first time through. We saw a lot of NASCAR drivers last year hit this curbing that I'm highlighting with the yellow there. They would hit that curbing and actually took it for a ride going off into the runoff. We're not going to see that curbing come off of the racetrack tonight, certainly, but we might still see it be an issue for some drivers. Maybe they're running through there side-by-side, potentially. I'm not sure. It might even throw these cars into a bit of a handling issue tonight. Only time is going to tell, but I'm a little concerned. I can't lie.
Yeah, certainly. That curbing, the curbing down in turn 7, and the curbing down in turn 12. That's all going to throw cars.
Too.
Oh, yeah. They're all going to throw cars. In turn 1, they're all going to throw cars to the side if they're on it or if they hit it wrong.
Hopefully nobody goes the inside of that corner, hits that curbing. We could see cars go flying into these corners. I think that would be worst case scenario in these, on these curbs. That would definitely be what we really don't want to see, but certainly a possibility. So these guys have to be careful. I really think that's going to be the biggest issue they will run into is these monster curbs around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're not just anti-cuts. They're not just sausage curbs. They're just different. They are literally built different, Emerson, and it's going to be a challenge. But with this standing start, this is going to... They're not standing. This rolling start, rather, is going to throw things off a little bit. The field, I think, is going to string a little further out. How do you see that changing things into turn 1?
Well, again, I think it kind of allows for more chaos, right? Everybody is kind of going to get rolling at a match. It's going to be under green lights, so everybody's going to have the exact same opportunity to go, and might just have this field all bunched up down to turn 1. Everybody's got to get caught up here as the pace car's leaving the racing surface there. Oh,
yeah. You can see Chase Wilson was not ready for a rolling start at all. He got in line. That is a no-no as far as changing lines on a standing or rolling start. But, hey, we're racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Drivers dropping away for 30 minutes in Indy. Rewind down to turn 1. That was Drew Swank up the inside of a couple of cars, but the field is entirely strung out here, Emerson, just as I thought. This is going to be an interesting race.
I'm a little curious there because technically the pace car doesn't get to the pit. The
problems
pit
for
line.
a pole sitter. Well, now that Carlos is around, and we've got a lot going on. That is the 102 of Billy Bowerman with him. And this is in the third corner. Our leaders are now on the backstretch fully. They're through the first chicane back there. And they are headed down to turn number 7. Looks okay for these guys. Whoa, Diego Eda there with a big check up and a spin now in turn 7.
He clipped that curb.
He sure did.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. You eat a little too much curb and you're going to go for a loop. But I was saying the pace car doesn't get to the pit line until the front straightaway. So technically the pace car was still controlling the field there. We got a
Chase
car
Wilson off the course.
Chase Wilson,
our race leader 2 times on this lap. First Ronaldo Carlos, then Chase Wilson having issues. And now where's Milan Harris? He's out of the pit lane. Make it 3 times, Emerson. Who's going to lead to the stripe? Kevin Simpson on the inside of Chase Wilson. It's going to be a drag race back onto the oval. Who's going to have it? It will be Chase Wilson, but only just over Kevin Simpson. What in the world happened to Milan Harris?
I was trying to get there. I think there's some start penalty. We got a car ran off the final corner as well.
Thomas Amos in car 9. What just happened? What is continuing to happen for these guys? Look at this side-by-side racing between Stevenson and Simpson.
I got a couple cars around in one, right? The Kroom and Swank.
Drew Swank, yep. John Kroom. That's out in turn 2 now. And our leaders, maybe. Well, they're still side-by-side to the chicane. Yep, contact. There's Simpson's going to have to take the cut. It had to give a lot of time back.
He's going to try to keep whiff and try to give it up in the braking zone here. Still staying with Simpson is looking to the inside, but you see there it is. He's got to back off, give up that time. And I guess that's, yep, we're still packed up here.
Tigre making a move. He will move to the inside of Matthew O'Leary. Stacey Bertrand, Sully Sad, side-by-side through 8 and 9. What an insane couple of first laps here at Indy.
Yeah, no kidding, right? The chaos continued from Montreal. We just decided to bring it stateside tonight.
Sully Sad slow through 10 and 11, but keeps going. I'm really concerned as to what's gone on for our pole sitter, though, tonight. Car 22, Ronaldo Carlos. Let's go back and look at this, Emerson. There's going to be a lot, I think, to digest and a lot to try and figure out. But we're going to start with car 22. And, looks like he's already around at this point. This is in turn 3. And Bowerman just came in. He might have gotten hit.
And I'm gonna assume that I think he just got a little wide. That corner is weird, right? It's all slicked up. You're coming off of another sweeper, and you're trying to get the car rotated to the apex, close to the exit curbing on the inside, so you can set yourself up for 5. So we'll see what happened to Bernardo Carlos here through
and heartbreak is going to happen after this. I'm seeing on timing and scoring. Kevin Simpson is sinking down the order. We'll cover that in a moment. Ronaldo Carlos was actually turn 4 where he went around. So I stand corrected, but you can see he just goes right around. The car just came out from under him. And Powerman comes in. No damage to his back bumper. He might have done the same thing.
And the rear came around. You're trying to get the car extra rotated because you want to be there on the right side out of the corner for the fast 5-6 chicane. And here's what happened with Chase Wilson. He missed the corner of the braking zone down here in the 12. Again, hard braking zone, but comes up quick.
It sounds like the issue for Milan Harris might have been a penalty off the start of the race. That rolling start throwing a wrench in things for a lot of drivers. He had to pit immediately off of the first or second lap. And man, a whole lot has gone on. Let's catch up here and see what's happened now to Kevin Simpson and why he is no longer in this race. And it looks like we have to go one further back. Yeah, let's check this out. That's where he goes through the corner at turn 6. What's going to happen, I guess, a little bit after this?
So I'm also seeing Chase Wilson.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a moment. The first thing is Kevin Simpson here. This is turn 1. He's got Bobby Flack on his back bumper, and, well, there you go. That was just frustration. That was an Alt F4 out of frustration. And then Chase Wilson, for whatever reason, has to come in and is now scored as the absolute dead last car. You think maybe he cut the course somewhere?
I'm thinking this is probably also a start violation. He came in on his 3rd lap, and
that's a possibility too, yeah.
And he actually stopped before the start finish line, then towed. So I think he was trying to serve it without getting disqualified. And Kevin Simpson's reconnected, so I believe Simpson's going to try to continue this race. But the rolling start throwing a lot of drivers for a loop, Andrew. 4 drivers penalized off that start. Now I was worried about that because the leader went immediately, and you can't do that with where the pit entry line is.
So Chase Wilson here onto the pit lane, realizing what's going on for him, and then he has to come down to serve this. Wow. Yep, he comes in. Sure enough, he's going to come to a stop, I'd imagine, here in a moment. And take a tow. Let's go back, Emerson, and check out the start of this race. And see exactly why this is happening. Well, let's kind of breaking the fourth wall for a moment. Let's find this real quick. And let's go just a little further back. So this, you can see pace car on track here. So this is going to show us kind of what's going on. And Emerson, go ahead and explain what you mean by the pace car and pit line and all that.
So the pace car, it leaves the racing surface, but technically, because it hasn't entered the pit lane, like pit road speed cones and all that, it does control the field. So right there, that is 1, 2, 3, 4 cars passing the pace car and before the start of the race.
The commitment line is that yellow cone that we can see down here. Let's see if I can illustrate this. If we're going off the commitment line is here. And you can see all of these cars have gone by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and more. I'd imagine it's probably for the back of the wall, though, right?
I guess, yeah, maybe it's more arbitrary than that at the wall, but still, it's not exactly when the pace car leaves the racing surface when Bernardo Carlos went.
If Milan Harris got a penalty, how is Kevin Simpson... I guess we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and the line is somewhere around here. Okay. This is very, very interesting, and we don't know exactly where the green lights came on from iRacing, but that would also be a big determinator, I guess, determining factor, if you will, in all of this. But it's really hard to say from us with limited telemetry from iRacing in exactly when that green flag is flown. But here's a look at the race leader. David Stevenson is leading now, Emerson, and he's got a healthy lead over Bobby Flack, Chris Sanchez, Ilya Speaker, Stacy Bertrand, who I talked about maybe having a concerning qualifying run. Well, she's in the top 5 after all of this.
Absolutely. These are some great runs. Remember, Bertrand, you said started 13th, Andrew, so this was +8. An amazing start for Bertrand. And you look at it, you look at right there on the time it's going on the left side, the standings. A lot of our front runners, a lot of drivers up top in the point standings are having a bad day. This is going to flip the point standings around, Andrew.
Here's Chase Wilson, who comes in tonight as the point leader. Ronaldo Carlos, who comes in the 5th spot. Milan Harris, who comes into the top 10. Kevin Simpson is out of this race in 26th. The hits keep on coming. A lot of these guys mixed around. Even Drew Swank is in the 14th position right now in car number 8, which is really, really killer to his season, I feel like, especially after the top 2 run for he and his teammate last week. And problems here for Wyatt Brackett, it looks like, in turn 12, but he will keep going. Just issues all over the place, Emerson. This is going to be an interesting round to, I think, sort out, and this is definitely a wake-up call for our pros and pro-ams of what they're going to have to deal with here in a little bit.
Yeah, I hope the drivers who typically start up front in pro-am know how to do a rolling start here, because that is that's clearly caught up the top runners off guard today.
Thankfully, they should, I would imagine, from even just doing the Spa 24 last weekend.
Oh, you're right. And, with Spa, that's a long time where the pace car's in the pit lane and the leader has control of the field. Oh, it looks like a slow car here.
Yeah, slow down penalty for Joshua Benjamin. I believe he cut turn 1, maybe even turn 2, so that opening kind of complex for him being an issue. Stacy Bertrand's very close to her teammate Ilya Speaker. This could be a nice little battle for the 4th position, and Chris Sanchez is not much farther up the road. Benjamin continuing to let cars by now into the 16th spot, but here's our focus. 4th, 5th, and really even 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Sanchez, Speaker, Bertrand back onto the front stretch here.
Yeah, Bertrand, you're going to, try to get the slipstream down the front straightaway. You can try to break it. I don't think it's worth that much because while it's a long straightaway, it's not, I guess, that long that makes a difference. A huge lunge here from Bertrand, though. A peak and potentially trying to fill up that mirror there of Speaker to try to force them into a mistake. And nearly did. You saw him go wide there at turn 1, missed the apex.
Bertrand trying to put some time on. It looks like I'm just scrolling through the Discord feed, Emerson, and drivers are not happy. This is going to be interesting. Well, and here we go. A pass now as Ilya Speaker is going to give this position up to Stacy Bertrand, it looks like. It's going to be interesting to see how the pros and pro-ams cope with this, or if the session is able to be adjusted for them. I'd imagine practice is already going for them, with only 18 minutes left in this race. Boy, a season-changing round potentially here at Indy.
Absolutely, and again, you're right. Drivers, we got, is that Wyatt Brackett off again? Oh my goodness. Gets back rolling there out of 4. Wyatt Brackett still trying to get the grips with the track. Again, it's new for relatively everyone. Everyone's still trying to figure it out. This is Bowerman, Billy Bowerman, trying to look on John Kroom. Remember Kroom and Swank, they had their issue down in turn 2.
Billy Bowerman challenging John Kroom down to turn 12. So there's the wake-up call. If this is going to be the same situation for the pros and pro-ams, I think even if you're second or third and you see the leader go early, you've got to not go. You've got to make sure you run your race, right? Emerson, you've got to let that guy go get his penalty if that's what he's going to go do, and keep yourself within the rules of iRacing. And that's going to be a challenge because, of course, you want to go as early as you can and get as many tenths and even hundredths on the field as you possibly can, headed down to turn 1 for the first time. But I think patience is going to be key on the start if we do have a rolling start. If it's a standing start, well, you throw that out the window. Hopefully we just don't have an IndyCar situation from a few years back where we have a parking lot. But I'm just blown away, honestly, as we watch this battle.
Bowerman, he's slowly closing the gap on John Kroom. This is Kroom on Swank.
This is Swank on Nagy. And Philip Durka's got a problem. Car 70 off track.
It's down off in turn 7.
Right
that's
for the battles we're looking at. Oh, they both go wide. That is actually Joe Nagy and Drew Swank coming up on this with John Kroom and company. And there's Badurka off the track now in turn 10, giving up these spots. So that lets Joe Nagy go on by in the 777. Here comes Drew Swank. And now it's going to be John Kroom going on by. Oh, no, that's Ronaldo Carlos, rather.
Oh, that's curbing.
Ronaldo Carlos is
a lap down.
I hope he doesn't get too heavy with these guys. Battling now with Drew Swank. Gets on by Philip Badurka. That's what was throwing me off. I could have sworn that wasn't going to be John Kroom in this battle, but I saw that third car and had to check deliveries, had to check timing and scoring. Very interesting. But up front, things are changing, actually, Emerson. Our leaders are getting close together. David Stevenson still leading by a second, but Bobby Flack is getting close. Now within a second to Stevenson.
Yeah, Bobby Flack has a chance here at the win. He's smelling it there. Stevenson only 8 tenths up the road. This is where we just saw Philip Badurka made this mistake last lap. Very easy to get a little too happy in there, a little too fast.
And even Bobby was deep there.
Late. Yeah. It's very easy to miss the apex and even easier to catch the grass there on the exit. Again, you have to really be on it and not a moment too late on the brakes. You're going to find yourself in trouble.
On board with Bobby Flack, headed out of turn 11, now to turn 12. It used to be you would stay in the throttle into the oval turn 1 there, Emerson, and just hang the 90-degree right over the course of, well, a lot more feet. It wasn't quite the same 90-degree right. It was a much faster corner, and you didn't have this kind of chicane section, but I like the chicane section. I think it actually creates a new passing opportunity right at the tail end of the lap. You don't have to do it back in turn 10 and have one more chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn 12, you've seen the attacks from drivers in behind, and then you've seen drivers just make mistakes there. It gives opportunities. It's not all over, and even 14 with how slick it is and trying to get back onto the oval, even that's a critical corner coming back to the start finish.
Battles all across the racetrack while we take a look at our top 5. How about Sully Sad and Scott Angelo? A really good round for the Radness crew, by the way. One of them leading, that's David Stevenson. You've got Scott Angelo here in 8th spot. Matthew O'Leary in 10th. Looking through, it was a better round, I guess. We had Scott, it wasn't Scott Angelo. Somebody else was actually higher up and has fallen down. I think it might have been Dan Willis. But a good round in the fact that they're leading Emerson, and that's something that I really want to talk about. The fact that David Stevenson is our race leader currently in car 55. We haven't seen Radness cars really lead at all, aside from Giuliano Romagnolo over on the pro side a little bit. It's been a rough go of things for these guys, but maybe turning things around today in a really big way with David Stevenson leading in car 55 with Oceana Coffee, Radness, and I forgot the other, Quantum Pay. There we go, on the hood of that car.
And you're right. And what a great run it is. Again, not a bad qualifying spot, and then avoiding all the lap 1 chaos, and then, the heads up with the rolling start, and of course, following the iRacing rule. All of that, David Stevenson, I know, some might say, he lucked into this position, but he had to earn it himself as well. And is currently doing a nice job of maintaining the gap to Bobby Flack.
He's got to keep the car in one piece, and he's done so for 11 laps as the leader. So the fact that he's still leading this race, 11 laps late, and that's leading just about every single lap, actually. We're only on lap 12, so I think because of the penalties for other drivers, he actually technically has led every single lap. That's interesting. And if we go back to the start of the race, Emerson, we can actually then see who the first car was. It was Stevenson that was the first car deemed illegal by iRacing, and we can really get an idea of exactly what these guys have to avoid, but we can do so potentially later. We'll see about that, but hey, this is a really big opportunity, I think, for Car 55 and all of Moradinus right now. This is a lot riding on this run right here for Car 55. There's a lot riding on this run.
Absolutely. And then, what are you thinking as a driver in this position? Now, he's opening up the gap, so there may be a little more, calmness behind the wheel, maybe a little, drop in the heart rate a little bit. I know it's pretty anxious, especially if you don't find yourself in this position often. To now find yourself in this position and well in control of this race, it's shocking. And he's doing very well under the pressure. If he's feeling any pressure, he might be as cool as a cucumber.
One thing to his credit is that win at VIR last season, Emerson. That was a fantastic race. That was in the GT3 cars, so season number 3 for those guys. That was running alongside of season 1 for the Porsche Cup cars. Stevenson came through for a surprise victory there. Wasn't dominating the race, just put himself in position at the end to take advantage of other drivers having issues, and sometimes it's all you have to do. So in this case, Stevenson put himself in the right position as far as the rules go, and is going to take potentially a race win, although he's got to keep himself honest. Bobby Flack is getting close, now within 9/10.
Oh yeah, Flack caught about half a second just from the front stretch in the first few corners. So Bobby Flack has, turned up the wick a little bit. He is now looking to see, can he flow through here a little bit better. These are some of the most rewarding corners if you can hit them just right. It sets you up nicely for 10, and then pretty much I know it's a sweeper, but you are on the throttle pretty much all the way from 10 to your braking zone for 12. This is, again, a huge opportunity to gain some time, and Bobby Flack is maintaining.
Yeah, turn 11 is a turn, certainly, but it's on throttle for these cars and most cars here at Indianapolis. 11 minutes to go. Oh, maybe a slide there for Stevenson. Maybe the tire's starting to give out on Car 55. He has been on it, definitely. And maybe Bobby is a little better at conserving these tires and keeping them in a good state, if you will. Track temp is actually cooled down a bit, though, Emerson. I don't know that there's too much of a concern over tire conservation.
I wouldn't necessarily think that, especially in a 30-minute race, but Bobby Flack, maybe he's still learning the track, and he's come to grips with it over the first 20 minutes or so, because he's on it now. And again, 3 and 4, this is what I'm talking about here. If we look at 4, you got to try to set yourself up on the right-hand side out of this corner and get yourself set up for 5. And Stevenson catches a lot of curb, but so does Flack. Flack looked a little bit more stable going over that right side curbing in 6, though.
And looked a bit more legal as well. Stevenson's flirting with track limits there and potentially a corner cut in turn 5, or turn 6 rather, and a much better turn 7 for Flack. Bobby is putting a lot of pressure on. Could it be a race win for him today, Indianapolis? Wouldn't this be a come-behind story that we all want to see? And he needs it too in the standings. There's a lot of drivers that really need the run they're going to get today, even if they swap positions another time or two. Bobby Flack, 5 points out of the lead to Drew Swake and Chase Wilson. He definitely should take the point lead, but by how much? He could really use these extra points over David Stevenson to get more points, of course, to his advantage. This is going to be huge.
Yeah, he wants to give himself, if he's going to take the point lead, he wants to give himself a cushion, solidify himself a little bit going into the next couple races before we wrap this bad boy up, coming back onto the oval. What I found, and I've done a lot of NASCAR Cup races this week on iRacing, you get closer and closer to that front straightaway wall every time you go through turn 14. It comes a little closer, and I saw Stevenson get really close to it there. I wonder if he's starting to feel that, trying to get on the throttle a little earlier. Trying to keep what he can out in front of Bobby Flack, and I'm just hoping he doesn't get too close.
Before these guys get to battling directly, we'll go ahead and run through at least some of the other battles in this field. And let's start right behind these guys. Chris Sanchez, Stacy Bertrand, Ilya Speaker gave this 4th spot up to Stacy a little while ago, and Stacy now keeping it inside of 4.5 seconds to race leader David Stevenson. And this is the battle for 3rd, currently separated by just about 3/4 of a second. Behind these guys, about the same distance for Scott Angelo and Brandon Louvier, a couple of teammates at Moradinus, cars 68 and 888, as Angelo leads his teammate down to turn 7. Again, separated by about 7/8 of a second, depending on where you count it. And behind these guys, you've got Matthew O'Leary putting some pressure on Sully Sad, but even Drew Swank is now pressuring the 10th position, number 18 of Matthew O'Leary. So kind of a 3-car battle here brewing if Swank can get to that 18 car, and potentially if either one of them can get to car 79 and Sully Sad. Behind these guys, there is one other battle. It's Armando Bejarano and Mike Braun. Mike Braun, a lot of damage on that car, Emerson. They head down to turn 7, and Armando will take the spot.
The dive to the inside. Oh, a little wide at the apex. Here comes Braun right on back, but holding station. And there you go, completing the overtake. But what I'm noticing, Andrew, is this track really is promoting very nicely the ability to kind of run with other cars very nicely. I don't know, it just seems easier to follow. You don't really see obviously the field itself is spread out, but there's these little groups of cars and little couplets, little 3-car groups running around the track. This is a kind of interesting kind of race.
Here are your race leaders down to turn 7. Cars 55 and 88 leading the show. And if you missed the start of the race, there was a lot that went on. We had a rolling start when this series is usually standing starts. The thought is maybe there's a bug potentially with setting a standing start here and that it won't allow you to, and that you have to do a rolling start instead of a standing start, but we don't know enough about it. We have to troubleshoot that, but either way, an issue for these guys at the start of the show. That created a slew of penalties for drivers who didn't quite understand the criteria, the etiquette, there we go, of a rolling start and the rules, really, and they launched a little bit too early, so they launched off the start of the race. They passed the pace car before the green flag was officially out, and they all got penalties. That's why you're seeing now David Stevenson and Bobby Flack battle this out for the win in Indianapolis. Drivers like Ronaldo Carlos, Chase Wilson, and more, who would usually be dominating here on the amateur side, they are much further back after penalties. Even Milan Harris down there caught a penalty in car 69, and here we go, a move for the race lead, but Bobby thought better of it. He got kind of cold-footed there, Emerson, into turn 1.
Yeah, he saw David Stevenson getting bigger and bigger out his front windshield, and he thought he had a lunge. And by the time he made and committed to the move, he realized maybe a little too late, maybe a little too dangerous at this point, and he was locking up via right front tire, trying to get down to turn 1 without hitting Stevenson. In turn, that cost him a little bit of time, about half a second. So he's got to work his way to chase Stevenson back down, to buy Stevenson a little bit more time.
While this is happening, some positions are changing hands further back. Diego Eda was momentarily behind Sully Sad, and now look at this. Drew Swank way out wide at turn 6, trying to get an advantage over Matthew O'Leary and Sully Sad. This is a battle to get into the top 10. Swank now with a move to the inside of 7, then sits back. This is 4 cars in a row, Emerson, when you count Diego Eda, and even up to Brandon Louvier, almost 5 cars. And look at that, John Kroom is not far behind to make it 6. A lot of cars in one area of the racetrack with 5 minutes to go.
Absolutely, and again, I love the fact that we are able to get these groups of racing, and drivers are able to stay with one another, and the passengers are able to happy. You're able to stick with somebody who just passed you a little bit, slipstream down the front straightaway or back straightaway a little bit, keep with them in the flowing sections. Again, approach really nice racing around here. The new Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, new to us anyway.
Yeah, I'm honestly really impressed. I did not know what to expect as Fleck got very close to getting into 1. I did not know what to expect with this course, but I'm very happily surprised.
Absolutely.
The cars flying by our speed shot on the front stretch. Joe Nagy very close to John Kroom. I think those cars just went by our speed shot. Yes, they did. Headed down the front stretch to turn number 1. And John Kroom, I think, had an issue that last lap, lost a lot of time to Drew Swank. I was talking about John maybe putting pressure on and joining that battle, but now he's fallen well back, in fact, 5 seconds or so back, as these guys are all on a train still. They head through that chicane, and oh, Drew Swank. Wow, what a chicane.
Wow, what a move. And you saw O'Leary, he caught a little too much curbing there in 6, shot him straight to that extra pavement, and wow, that's not an off track. It did allow Drew Swank to just dive right to his right side and completely just overpower him down the backstretch.
To an untrained eye, Emerson, you might think from the back end these two cars are teammates, but they're very different, all while still trying to kind of work together at this point. They don't want to make a mistake, but they do want to fight for this race lead. David Stevenson from Maradness and Bobby Flack from Empire Racing headed down the front stretch now with about 3 laps to go at Indianapolis. It's lap 19 of an expected 21, on board with second place. Only 3/4 separating them, and Bobby lunges into one, creates a little bit of extra time for him, but starts to lose on exit.
You're right, and I saw Stevenson just clip a little bit of grass. I'm going to say, though, I'm admiring how calm Stevenson is right now. He sees Flack closing and even had a lunge last time around, but he's still just keeping it nice and neat, keeping the car in between the lines, hitting the apexes. That gets very difficult to do the later you get into a race, especially the more pressure you're feeling. So the fact he's just able to keep running his race, it's almost as if he doesn't have a rearview mirror, and he's just looking out the windshield.
While these guys battle, a big thank you to our partners here with the North American Racing League Virtual Racing School, providing the setups that these amateur drivers are racing on currently, and it's a good one, clearly. Maradness for providing a lot of driver coaching, of course, for a lot of these drivers. I think that's a big part of why we're seeing drivers get so much better these last few seasons. Maradness doing a big help for a lot of these drivers. You can, well, get Virtual Racing School setups and Maradness coaching for yourself today on iRacing. Go to, well, check out VRS and Maradness both, as well as TAM Livery to get yourself up to speed with a paint scheme on iRacing. You've got to be looking good while you go fast, and TAM Livery can do that for you. And if you're trying to set up a league all at the same time, well, JS Consulting might be the option for your league website at johnsedlak.com. As, Bobby Flack is gone.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and he's still not back. This one's...
Did he catch an off track somewhere? Oh, there he is. Okay.
No.
We're okay. Just some connection issues there for Bobby. Let's hope he can hang in on the back end of this race. Challenging for the lead. 90 seconds to go, Emerson. And he's got to run out of turn 6. Here we go.
Trying to stay defensive is Stevenson, but Flack dives into his inside. Side by side, coming down to 7. Who can get down here cleaner? They both get through 7. They actually neither get wide there. And into 8, 9, and 10. Does Stevenson have any chance to get back at Bobby Flack?
Bobby Flack, now your race leader, headed down to the white flag this time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A big change at the top of the field. Let's see what car 55 can do potentially down to turn 12. He stays in behind. I think David knows now that he's got to just wait and find the right time to try and pounce. He's close enough if he wanted to. He could have right there in turn 12, but if he waits, he'll have a better opportunity as Bertrand makes a pass for third over Chris Sanchez.
To the podium is Stacy Bertrand, but these top two, they're coming to the start finish. 1 lap to go this time, Andrew.
White flag is out, presented by Whiplash Simcams. They'll go down to the first corner for the final time. Bobby Flack leading hard on the brakes, and David Stevenson sits in behind, but does close into that first apex curbing, Emerson. What can Stevenson do to fire back as it battles on for third? Sanchez back on the inside, takes that spot away.
Neither of these battles are just done yet.
Whoa!
This, wow!
Drew Swank comes over and hits Diego Etta down to turn 1. Swank now on the inside of Sully Sad. Sully locks up, goes through turn 1. That's going to be an opportunity for Swank. And here comes Diego back 3 wide again. Officially now the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. This is down to turn 7 though for the race win. No move from Stevenson. That's where the move happened last lap for Bobby Flack on David Stevenson. I'm not sure it's going to happen now.
Oh, he's still got a couple more opportunities here. 10, all right, next up at turn 12. Does he have a run? Can he stay on the throttle? Is he going to send it down here? Well, right on board as he comes through 11.
This is his final opportunity. David Stevenson up the inside. He's going to try, gets close. He's going to make contact. He hits him, and he spins him around in turn 12, and that is going to be huge. Where is Chris Sanchez? Can he come on through to win this race? Stevenson's going to power away as Flack spins and gets back going. This now a battle for second. Sanchez is off the course. He's going to lose second. He's going to lose third. He's going to finish fourth. It's Bertrand side by side with Flack as David Stevenson's going to take a sour win at Indianapolis, but it's a win nonetheless.
Stevenson, Flack, and Bertrand to round out the podium. What a job. But we're not done, Andrew. All these battles coming to the line.
Drew Swank will finish behind Sully Sad here, and there's been extracurricular activity after the start-finish line. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not between Stevenson and Flack. We'll look into it in a moment, as most other battles are sorted out. There is one here with Mike Braun and Kerry Corcoran, but Corcoran's car in much better condition. Mike Braun with a lot of damage. I think that's going to be an easy sort out, and yes, it will. Car 28 will power away from car 107. So let's just go back to the speed shot and watch these cars come on through Emerson. Here's Philip Bedurka, Armando Bejaran in the 16th spot, then Kerry Corcoran, Mike Braun, Thomas Amos, Milan Harris will be the final car on the lead lap in position 20. Wow.
Another Carlos, Chase Wilson. They're both one lap down again. Great qualifying and you know, up there in the point settings, but their finishers.
There's Chase Wilson.
Won't be reflected. Yeah.
All right.
Was that his grid start?
I think so. I think that was a bit of protest there from Chase Wilson. Let's go back and see what happened after the line. Well, actually, just what happened in general with our race winner and second place. David Stevenson taking the win here tonight. But what do you make of this, Emerson?
Well, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at it. I think, you know, I can see myself in Stevenson's shoes. You know, this is your last chance. You have to go for it. I obviously he didn't mean to, you know, spin Flack out. I think he didn't mean to spin Flack out, but he was trying to go for the spot. A little ambitious, but again, last opportunity. But if you're Flack, I mean, you did everything right. You chased him down. You stayed patient. You took that lead, and then you tried to defend it a little bit, but just two cars can't fit in one spot.
I mean, you just saw the replay of the contact, and Bobby Flack then has to defend over all of this coming to him. Sanchez runs wide and gives up both of those opportunities at points. And Bobby Flack powers back to a second-place finish over Stacey Bertrand, but only just, as you can see the battle to the line here between those two. Wow, let's get one more look at this. This is for the race win in the amateur race here at Indianapolis. I told you, Emerson, it's good to have that one extra chance after turn 10, after really turn 7, the final good opportunity to pass here Indy before. It's good to have this opportunity, but this is exactly the kind of move it sets up for. Down to turn 12, and Stevenson just tries to outbrake, goes up the inside, makes contact, turns Bobby Flack right around.
It looks a little weird. I feel like from there, it looks like Flack tried to turn in a little earlier to try to cover off Stevenson.
But that's his prerogative if there's no overlap. He's turning in early, sure, but I think he's allowed to.
For sure. I guess it comes down to, you know, what is he turning in for the corner? When is it moving under braking? You know, did Stevenson, you know, go way too hard in this? Okay, that looks more, I guess, more or less he's trying to take the corner.
I think it's just two guys racing for the win. I don't know that it needs to be, Chris Sanchez, there we go. I think only lost that spot he was racing for because, well, he went a little deep into 12, but a whole lot going on, Emerson. Just a whole lot to talk about after this one, and we do have our race winner and second place ready to talk to us after this. Let's break it down. First, it'll be David Stevenson, and I imagine this will be an interesting interview. David, it's a race win, but describe how it happened for you.
Good question. You know, second to last lap, Bobby, he blinked out going into like turn 3, and I noticed he was gone on my relative, so I kind of eased up a little bit, and that allowed him to just jump on me, and then he got me, and then going into was at turn 12. I was trying to go down the inside, but didn't have it, I didn't think, and then was trying to slow it up, and he kind of cut over a little bit, I think. I don't know. I haven't really had a chance to look at the replay. I feel really bad about that. It was a good fun race until then. So yeah, I'm not sure what exactly happened. I need to go look at it.
Well, you know what we can do through the power of technology? I think we can actually bring it up for you. Let me see if I can do so here. Give me one moment. It's definitely one of the more controversial finishes I think we've had as far as just looking at it. But it's interesting that you kind of see it a little differently than I thought I would expect, and I don't mean in a bad way. I'm going to break the fourth wall here in a second. But let's go back and manually take a look at this finish. This is not what we would usually do, but I guess go ahead and break down this thought process for you here. I'm interested.
Well, coming out of the S's, I was trying to get as good a run as I could because I knew that going into either 12 or 13 was going to be my chance to get back. And then he kind of just squeezed over, I guess. I thought we would have room to go through there, but I don't know. I guess he didn't think I was going to be there. I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell, especially immediately after the fact. You're kind of, emotions are all over the place, especially with such a good race up until then.
Yeah, it's very tough in the moment as well when you're just trying to focus on making the move to determine if you're at fault or not, and try to decide, do you let that guy go back or you just take the win? And I can't blame you. A win's a win. And I mean, if there are hard feelings, how do you approach that next week at Suzuka?
Well, I mean, just like any race, like I don't race to ruin anybody else's race. I don't race to, push people off track. I try to race as hard and fair as I can. I think I'm one of the better guys in the league that does that. Going back through last season GT3 and this season so far. So, I'm just going to do what I do. I'm just going to go back at it and race just as hard. It is what it is at this point. We'll see what happens as far as, any protests or anything like that. But, it 100% wasn't a dive on purpose. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, I stuck my nose on the inside to see if I could maybe get him to think about it. And I just thought we were going to have room to go through there. Guess it didn't work.
Well, David, we appreciate the candid, interview here. We really do appreciate your kind of insight. And, hey, congratulations on a win, 21 laps led. You had to do a whole lot out there, a whole lot of work behind the wheel, and I think the win is well-deserved in that way. So congratulations, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week in Japan.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Quick shout-out to everybody at Muradness, Stu, Dan, Ginger Liveries. Everybody, shout out to Dan Morad. He's actually racing the 24 Hours of Spa in real life this weekend, so everybody check it out. And hopefully we'll see you guys again this season.
There you go. David Stevenson taking a second win here in the North American Racing League, granted his first in Porsche Cup competition. A pretty big win, I think, for Car 55 Emerson, but this guy might have other feelings. Here's Bobby Flack.
And while we talk to the driver who comes across the line second in a wild race overall, but a wild finish, Bobby, you chased down David Stevenson. You made the overtake with 2 laps remaining in the race, and it all comes down to the final lap, final braking zone. What do you make of all everything that happened?
Well, first of all, nice to talk to you guys. It was a great race till about 3 turns from the end. Yeah, like you said, I really didn't have any pace on it, but I feel like maybe the last 5 laps I saved some tires and was able to get them. And yeah, I mean, we all saw it, so it is what it is at this point. Second place of the year.
Nonetheless, it should be a nice run. A lot of the heavyweights of the point standings, right? They had issues today, so this is a huge result for you to take a good lunge at the points. What is your mindset? Kind of seeing all the chaos happen in front of you with the rolling start and the penalties, and then knowing that you got a good point stay out of today.
I'm just watching the replay right now. Ouch. It's just all about not running into anybody, surviving the first turn. You gotta qualify good so you can get ahead of the madness. And it's kind of been the same thing all year. Just stay consistent, let other people make mistakes, and be there at the end. And almost.
You said you were seeing the replay there. Do you have any thoughts to add to that?
I mean, obviously frustrated. I mean, there was no ill intent to it. And actually, I feel bad for whoever it was that I got into. I don't know how that'll go. But yeah, it's that's one of the toughest braking zones on the sim, it feels like, especially with these things. So just one of those things. Like I said, like you said, the points are good per second, and we'll take those with 2 rounds to go. And my favorite track to finish up the year, so we'll see.
Well, Bobby, again, I know a disappointing result to finish second after taking the lead there with 2 laps to go. But again, a great run overall on the points. You're looking pretty stout now, heading with 2 races to go. Best luck to you coming up at Suzuka. And congratulations on your second place finish.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to thank all my Team Empire teammates for all the support and help, and winrider.com and Rocket Designs. So thank you very much.
Bobby Flack with a, I think, unfortunate second place finish this evening, but a deserved top 2 at the very least. We'll say, I think that's the best way you can sum that up, Emerson. Deserved good finish at the very least, and I'm sure we'll see more of him in these last 2 rounds. It's going to be a big point swing in his favor after today, probably to the point lead after today. Drivers, I know there's a lot. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably are checking in or have been listening. I think let's just let's wait on things. I think this round will stay official, but I can understand some frustrations. But hey, everybody had the same race, and I think it was a lot of fun to watch. I know it was a big curveball, and I know a lot of drivers will, I think, have differing opinions there, but it's sometimes good to have curveballs and mix things up. But I can understand the frustration. Regardless, we'll go on to race number 2 on the day. It's pros and pro-ams coming up. And, hey, we'll see if we have another curveball. Maybe if it's a slider or a knuckleball. I don't know. So we'll see here in just a little bit. Race 2 of the day on the way here at Pit Stop TV. Don't go anywhere. Just like that, welcome back to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cars are on track for Pro and Pro-Am qualifying, and Emerson, we are in for, I think, a treat. We're getting in for some really, really good Pro and Pro-Am racing. That amateur race was fantastic. I know there was a big curveball there off the start, but everything else was fantastic racing, some of the best we've seen all season long. Let's get right into it then for the pros and pro-ams. A lot to talk about with these standings. We'll start there before quickly going to qualifying. Dino Filippa, he's opening up more of a gap, but other drivers are all mixing around behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Miranda, again, who's currently on provisional pole right now in qualifying. He's 15 back of Filippa. Ricardo Rico there in third, 25 back. Only 3 above Eric Goldner and Lauren Zavadil. Matthew Dench there in 6th, 34 back. Bruno DeCarmo, 38. 39 back is Juliano Romagnolo. Javier Zamperlini, 40 back. This is all still really close with 3 races left. And again, if we have anything like we had in the amateur race, Andrew, this could all change.
Yeah, I think everything is going to change on both sides. And maybe not everything, maybe not as much as the amateur side, but we're going to have multiple drivers go different places. Eric Goldner, Lauren Zavadil being tied into today is going to be interesting. Ricardo Rico is going to move around, I'd imagine. Trey Drawhorn and Miguel Colon, only 1 point apart. They're in 3rd and 4th. Mitchell Johnson, 2 points back. You've got Lowy Santee, Damon Duckworth close, Lewin Hott and Lucas Souza 1 point apart each. So a lot's going to happen. Let's get down to the track, though. I say that, only 1 car is left on track. These pros, they qualify really quickly, and the session switch sometimes is really tough on us trying to get picture of them on tracks. We apologize there, but Marcelo Canoff is on track, now into the 9th spot in qualifying. This is big as a pro driver. He's had a lot of, I think, subpar runs for what he's, I'm sure, wanted here in the pro category, but is looking a lot better right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we have Canoff here rolling through 5 and 6, and again, just how much curbing these guys are able to take there in 6. That's nuts. You don't really see sports cars take that much curbing in these corners. It's fun to see these guys are able to throw these sports cars around.
It is good to see these guys kind of put these cars on the limit here. I know that the track is a little more slick, I think, than years past, but it doesn't really seem like it's affecting too many drivers.
Nah, it looks like most of these drivers are very much able to get into the track, get into the groove of it. It doesn't feel awkward. Again, in the amateur race, it felt very racy, and we're in for a great show.
A little over a minute left here in this qualifying session, and drivers all over the place. Miranda, top of the board. Dino Filippa there in the 2nd spot. Lauren Zavadil 3rd. Then Bryce Rodriguez finally back here. Roger Resende in 5th. Matthew Dench, Giuliano Romagnolo, and now Marcelo completing the top 8. Scott Reister fastest in the Pro-Am category, so that's always nice to see, and you can see everybody else from there on back in that order. But Emerson, while we have the opportunity, let's talk more about our partners here with the North American Racing League, and we're going to lead off, of course, with Virtual Racing School, providing the amateur base setup and a base setup for the pros and pro-ams too, and a whole bunch of data packs and everything else. Pascal does a great job each and every week putting out data packs for these guys and a whole bunch of just great resources for them to use. So really solid stuff that comes out of Virtual Racing School, and of course they can help you in your day-to-day iRacing endeavors as well. And Muradness, they can do the same. A whole lot of driver coaching and just getting you up to speed on iRacing in general. And how about Tam Livery putting a bunch of these paint schemes on track each and every week, and they look fantastic. And let's not forget the social media graphics that come out of North American Racing League. Those are done by Tam Livery, and those always look great. And of course, JS Consulting, JohnZedlike.com can handle a lot of the back end for your iRacing League. Go to JohnZedlike.com and see what he can offer for you. Emerson, are you excited for this race?
Absolutely. We just had 30 minutes of craziness and wild racing. And Andrew, I'm going to look at it here. It looks like we do have another rolling start on our hands as well. So more chaos potentially on the way.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it would have been very difficult for race control to do anything other than let these guys go with the rolling start. The session was already created. The session was already up for practice, and yeah, this is what we have. So we do have a rolling start for some 20-odd cars. I think, 23 cars with Brian Zinn way in the back. Let's go ahead and go down our starting order. Victor Miranda in car number 1, always fast. Here in the Porsche Cup cars, he's starting from pole. Dino Filippa starting from the 2nd spot. Starting 3rd, you'll find car number 24, Lauren Zavadil for SimCity Racing, alongside Bryce Rodriguez, 2 of the more fiery drivers in this series on that 2nd row. Starting 5th, you'll find Roger Resende. Matthew Dench starts from the 7th, 5th, then 6th there for Matthew Dench in car 283. Starting 7th, it's Juliano Romagnolo before Marcelo Canoff, if I get these words out correctly, will start from the 8th spot. And then you have your Pro-Am pole sitter, Scott Reister in car 42, and Ryan Kerr in car 888, starting from 10th.
In 11th position, you have Fabio Zamperlini in the 27th position. 12th place will be Trey Drawhorn, who ended up getting a Pro-Am victory last time out at Montreal. Row number 7 will find the 8 of Damon Duckworth and the 21 of Mitchell Johnson there in 14th. Back to row number 8, 15th place will be Leanne Haught, and Luis Santiver will be starting in 16th. 17th we'll find Lucas Souza, and 18th we'll also find Alex Persian to round out row number 9. And in row number 10 will be Thomas Rayleigh and Eric Goldner.
Starting 21st, you'll find car 87, Miguel Colon. And starting 22nd, Wayne Castile in the number 3 from Radness before Brian Zinn rounds out our field. Emerson, let's talk more about this track and what challenges these guys will go through tonight. I really think turn 1 obviously is usually going to be a challenge spot for these guys, but it seems like with the rolling start, it won't be as big of an issue as early. So then you have to look to maybe turns 5 and 6, and even turn 7 is the first trouble spots of lap 1. I think those where we'll see those guys have some big moves, have some big challenges, but also you have to consider what we saw in that amateur race and the fact that we saw a lot of drivers having issues in turn 3 and 4, just losing the back end. So I think really skip turn 1 maybe. We shouldn't see too much go on to turn 1, but I think everything after that is going to be exciting.
I think every corner has their opportunity to be trouble. There's again huge curbs down in 1 and 6 and 7 and 12, right? That these drivers have to avoid for the most part. You talked about the rear ends getting loose down in 4. Turn 11, you're trying to carry as much speed as you can as you go from the flat up onto the banking. Turn 12, a hard braking zone. 14's a very slick corner. You're trying to get back up onto the banking. 8 and 9, there's grass on either side, and there's just chaos everywhere waiting for these drivers. It is a laser focus 50 minutes coming up for these drivers.
Definitely a lot to go through in this brand new to iRacing track here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A really, really cool layout that they have. And again, we talked about that bit of road course they cut out between turn 5 and turn 7 now, but I think this is the better course overall. I don't mind the extra bit of pavement over there, but I think this is the better course. And I think turn 12, we saw it just now in the amateur race, Emerson doing a lot as well. It's one final opportunity, one final big braking zone and passing opportunity for these guys, and it cashed in there in the amateur race.
Absolutely. It gave the opportunity there for David Stevenson to have a chance for that race win, and he took it. It was his last opportunity, and typically it'd be down in 7, then you'd have half a lap to think about what you could have done differently. But then now if you have a go in 7, it doesn't work out, you still have another chance down in 12. So again, we've been pretty gifted with this track. It's been nice to have this track on the sim today.
This is a very amateur drawing of what it used to look like in the yellow, where it used to go, kind of just an idea of kind of what it used to do. That's a very amateur. I'm not an artist drawing, but you kind of get the picture of what they cut out and what they added. So lap times kind of work out here. But leaders down into turn 12 and turn 13. For the final time before we let these guys go racing tonight. It's going to be fun, but can these leaders stay behind the pace car? We just saw it in the amateur race. They are waiting. Victor Miranda holding the field here, getting very close, though, through turn 14. So this start should stay valid for them as they wait all the way back onto the oval. Now green flag is out from Indianapolis, and it's a big start for Miranda. It's a much more orderly start here for the pros and pro-ams, although they are still going 3 wide in some cases. And Bryce Rodriguez and Roger Resende are backwards.
And the second you said that, Andrew, looks like there is, again, a couple cars going around there, you said, down in 4. I think more or less that was maybe some slight contact more than anything, but everybody continues on. Again, you're right, much more cleaner start, much more organized start, and I think if anybody was watching that amateur race, it also might have been just said, maybe by admins, to watch the restart rules, being that it's a rolling start, and you saw there it paid off. We have a much cleaner start.
Seeing the leaders work around turn 11, now down to turn 12. Again, a big braking zone for these guys, a big passing opportunity as well. How big of a deal do we think fuel is going to be today, given the calamity we saw in the amateur race?
You know what? I haven't even put a thought to it. I'd imagine, well, you're able to save quite a bit here. I've seen that is pretty evident this week. So, I mean, there is definitely, time to be made up on the pit lane, right? It's a very long pit lane. I mean, extremely long. The pit exit just feels ever more longer. So the less time you can spend there, the better.
Lap 1 complete. Some issues for some drivers. There we go in turn 1. Scott Reister is off course in car 42, along with Damon Duckworth in car 8. Big problems in the first corner for these guys. Oh, and there goes one other car. That was Thomas Rayleigh, as Rice will rejoin the course. Let's go back and recap laps 1 and 2. First, we saw the issue. Oh my goodness, we're going to have a big replay with Scott. He's not going to be happy about that. But let's go back first and see what happens with car 26. And that is going to be, of course, Bryce Rodriguez. Let's see this. He's that blue, black, and red car on the outside into turn 4. Turns in, it looks like. No, that was definitely Resende getting loose and coming just around into the 26 car. You don't see that very often.
No, it's so at turn 4, it's kind of shaped weird. It kind of looks like, and if in some cases it can be a passing zone, but right there off the initial start, everybody's all packed up.
Cold tires.
Yeah, cold tires. I don't really feel the need for the aggression there, but nonetheless, it's cost Resende and Rodriguez kind of a victim in that incident.
Well, they were already side by side, and that's just those guys racing still at that point. Resende maybe could have backed out, but he's holding his position. He held just a bit of an overlap, but backed it in with a little bit too much brake bias on cold tires and turns the Evolution Racing 26 car right around. But then the real issue is going to come at the end of those lap, Emerson. Scott Reister being absolutely straight lined by Damon Duckworth in turn 1.
Yeah, and I saw this happening live on my end. So we'll get to see it kind of all play out here coming off of 14 and everything that gets set up right here. It all happens, right? You're right around Scott Reister. And we'll see it on the front straightaway, kind of run to happen. Yeah, here's Damon Duckworth.
So this is the issue for Damon Duckworth. Let's see how he gets into this predicament in the first place. Driver out of Michigan. Just never quite set. And unfortunately, that's not the solution to the issue at hand. Not much you can do is along for the ride, but
right.
Unfortunately, that's not quite the one that works.
Yeah, I get it, right? That's just a mistake, a mental lapse, really. I think I don't know if he couldn't just see the brake marker, so he just missed his brake marker. But nonetheless, he tried to get out of the way, right? He dove it down, but unfortunately, when he was trying to get out of it, there was a car there.
Wow. Let's come back to live picture after all of that. That's a good way to let that soak in, I think. There is a battle for second place shaping up between Lauren Zavadil and our point leader, Dino Filippa, on the offensive hero card 71. And finally, we've seen Victor Miranda get away to a race lead without Dino Filippa. So is Dino going to be able to win this race? He's won the last several by various circumstances, Emerson. It's going to be difficult for him today.
Certainly, I think tonight it could come down to, well, I mean, we've seen drivers be able to chase others down. I wonder, if there's going to be a pace difference as this race gets into it, right? And, there's also the fact of, trying to really game the strategy with what I said, the incredibly long pit lane.
Watching these guys battle through turn 11 down to turn 12. What can they do? Here comes Filippa to the inside, and that is a pass for second place on car 24. Oh, but maybe a crossover. A switchback, and Lawrence tried, but he's not able to hold that spot just yet, but he is now on the inside for 14, but he gives the spot up.
That is absolutely wild. Dino Filippa, typically when you get to the grass there, Andrew, it kind of sucks you in, right? You're kind of stuck there. You lose a lot of momentum. And Dino had a connection problem there. It looks like he's back in. But he was able to keep the car straight. He got back into it, and he was able to hold the inside line through 13.
Some other battles further back, you see Marcelo Canoff now into the top 5 ahead of Matthew Dench and Fabio Zamperlini, leading the Pro-Am class after all of that on the start. Emerson, look at this. Ryan Kerr from Radness. Could he make it 2 for 2? Potentially, or I guess 2 for 3 at least, of the Pro-Am, or of the Maradness chances to win today, if you will. David Stevenson finally getting Maradness a win today in the amateur class. Can maybe Ryan Kerr hang on for a win in Pro-Am, and could potentially Giuliano Romagnolo go from 4th on the grid currently up to Victor Miranda and pass him for the race win? That seems like a slightly taller order, though, as Ryan Kerr defends for his race lead.
Yes, certainly. Under, again, very heavy pressure from a very hot driver in this Pro-Am category, right? Trey Drawhorn has been absolutely on it. He, got it done last week at Montreal. And, again, a driver who is looking to carry his momentum. And I would not want to be battling it out with Drawhorn right now, because this is, again, this can be a tough one.
That blinking, though, might prompt Trey to sit back a little bit, and it does, it looks like, through 12 and 13. So now Trey Drawhorn has to find a way back up to Ryan Kerr as he sits just a little ways ahead of Mitchell Johnson. So things very, very close at this point in the race, and we expect that to continue. Further back, Roger Resende working on Alex Persian. Resende, of course, had that contact lap 1 with Bryce Rodriguez. Rodriguez has recovered to 12th, but Resende sits back here in 15th spot, chasing car 79. Good to see Alex Persian back in the field. I know he's missed some races this season.
Absolutely, and again, what better round to come back than Indy? Get back into it here. Very racy track. You can kind of control your own destiny here a little bit. You can make the moves. You can do a whole lot here, and a very fun place to do it.
Roger Resende, a pro driver, and Alex Persian, a Pro-Am, and that should be an easy pass down to turn 7. And yes, no, Persian challenges the braking zone. Now have to give that spot up. And that pass is complete for Roger Resende. He will now set his sights on Lewis Santi. As you can see, Bryce Rodriguez hounding Lucas Souza. This could be a fun battle headed down to turn 12 in a moment. These guys also a pro on a Pro-Am car.
You got Rodriguez. He had the run there on Souza. He's going to stay in line here into 12 and see if he can get another opportunity, maybe down into 1. He's got to run now through 13, trying to maybe get a wider wider arc through 13.
Oh.
That speed up to 14.
Lucas parked it, though, on exit of 13. That was beautiful. Did you see that? That looked a bit like a Lance Stroll on Sebastian Vettel last week. That was beautiful. The way he just parked it on exit and kept it right in the middle of the racetrack did not allow Bryce Rodriguez to have a chance on him. Now, unfortunately, for him anyway, Bryce will have a chance.
Bryce looked not able to get down there. Oh, no, in the missed braking zone for Lucas Souza. He doesn't clip grass, so fortunately he's able to keep it on the track and able to keep it going, but he will lose the positioning. And, wow, Andrew, not the day to say that about Sebastian Vettel, man.
Yeah, unfortunately announcing his retirement from Formula One, but it's Wong's on season. A chance for him to, I think, put some runs together, but we'll talk more about that later, I suppose, or at least at another time. As Giuliano Romagnolo, remember how I mentioned him potentially having a chance to race up to Victor Miranda? He is getting close to Lawrence Zavadiel. Lawrence, a great start to this race, but has fallen back since then, lost some time, and maybe just doesn't have the overall pace to match the top two. Giuliano might. And you can even see Marcelo Canoff with pressure from Matthew Dench down to turn 12.
Now look at this, and again, Dench trying to get what he can out of here with Canoff. And you saw Canoff, he's actually made up a lot of ground, right? He started a little lower down the top 10, and right now in the 5th position. So Canoff's been actually making a lot of ground here. Dench just trying to see if he's able to stick with him, if they're able to see if they can do anything to catch Romagnolo or Zavadiel up the road.
Down the front stretch and down to turn 1. A little bit of bobble on the brakes. Marcelo hangs on, though. And this is undoubtedly the closest battle, I think, that we've got in the top 10. The next closest is Trey Drawhorn on the leader in Pro-Am, Ryan Kerr. And here are those guys as they work through turns 3 and 4 as well. And then, of course, Roger Resende and these guys, Lowy Santi, Lucas Souza, still in a group. Very racy track is what we're learning, Emerson. You mentioned it a lot in the amateur race. Very pleasantly surprised with how much these guys can battle here.
You're right. And again, I think drivers, they're not pressed to do something too crazy in one of the passing zones, right? Because you have another one coming up in, a quarter of a lap, or, you set yourself up for another one right after that passing zone. So you don't have to take, huge unnecessary risk. You don't really have to take dive bombs, and that tends to break the field up. So, you're able to see these kinds of grooves race one another, and even if you get past, you're not out of it because you just start setting yourself up for the next passing zone, and then you're racing them back into the next corner.
Matthew Dench a bit slow there on a turn 14. Going to lose a little bit of time to Marcelo Canoff. That opens the door potentially for Marcelo to open a gap, as here we go. Trey Drawhorn, Ryan Kerr, they stay just a little ways apart. If you're Trey in this case, Emerson, what do you do to try and pass car 888? Do you try and do it in the pit lane? Do you try and do it outright on the track before the pit stop? How do you try and get by him here? It seems like, yes, there's passing opportunities, but it's difficult to actually capitalize on them. So there's chances to try and set up, but it's tough.
Well, I think at this point, right, you're looking at the clock, 38 minutes, just under 38 minutes left in the race. There's no need to sound the alarm yet, right? You can obviously make that pass on the pit lane, or you can just sit here, so fill up that mirror, Ryan Kerr, maybe get him a little comfortable for you. Then you can up the aggression a little bit, maybe make him a little anxious, maybe force him into a mistake, see if you can get it done then. And I think, what we more or less see, right, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, if there's a battle going on in the pro category, save for last week at Montreal with the wild outing they had, Miranda and Felipe, typically you see him kind of just sit and wait till after pit stops to really battle it out.
Oh, Trey closes in a bunch there at the apex at 12. We'll see what these guys like to do. I think there's options on the table, certainly. If I was behind the wheel, I would simply just hang on for all of your life and just try and make it to the end of this race. It's going to be tough, I think, on these guys. We haven't talked about the weather yet for them, but it is still decently warm. It's cooled down a little bit from that amateur race, Emerson, 75 versus 74 degrees, now down to 84-degree track temp. But the winds are still all over the place. It's a windy day in Indianapolis, around 9 miles an hour currently out of the south. Relatively sustained, as now it's dropping back down to about 6 mile an hour. But it's moving around, and that's enough sometimes to unsettle a car. And that heat is still, again, it's not hot, but it's warm, and it's enough temperature to present issues over the course of 50 minutes.
Certainly. You can see cars, especially in the sweepers, right? Those are really the corners that I think would get affected most with the wind, where you're trying to lean on a tire or the aerodynamics of the car, and then you have a little bit of a wind factor that can kind of throw the car off a little bit here. And oh wow, big wiggle there. But that's something you can see through here. This is 8 and 9, right? You're trying to cut these corners as close as you can, obviously, without getting the 1X. Trying to even straight line them if you can, right against that inside curve. But if you cut a little too much, you can save the 1X, but the car will get unsettled, and that's what you're seeing a lot through here.
Yeah, you want to come through turn 8 and just kind of go straight to 9, maybe bend out a little bit. You can see where that blackened groove is on the racetrack. You want to keep it very straight, and that's just a racing line in general. You want to try and sweep through there and keep the front wheels as straight as possible. So you can see the racing line through this section, very different from where the actual asphalt lies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's different, in a stock car, which, I've ran a lot this week. Those are actually more pronounced turns. You have to do a lot more wheel input there. But you're seeing here, you can see with the tire tracks, you don't have to really throw the car into 8 and 9 as hard as you would another car. But look at Dench here. He's still trying to size up Kenoff. And again, I think, trying to maybe study him right now, right? See if what he can do at the pit stop and then go for it then. Or hit the apex a little bit better through 7 and see what he can set up here through 8, 9, and 10.
We'll see it again in a moment, I'm sure, but if we're paying attention to the dash, you would have seen the RPM lights go all the way down because the clutch was in for Matthew Dench. We'll see if there's an opportunity to hear it. Not so much into turn 12. I wouldn't expect it to be. I would really expect it at the end of this long front straightaway into turn number 1 as they come up on a lap car. This should be, I believe, Brian Zinn in position 21. Thomas Reddy, the last car in this race, already 8 laps down, unfortunately. And Detch is going to have an opportunity. But watch this dash, Emerson. We're going to see those lights go all the way down, I think, in turn 1. Let's watch those kind of red, green. You can actually see the RPMs go down to 0. But yeah, he's putting the clutch in. You can hear it better than you can see it there on the dash. But saving fuel, it's a strategy already.
And certainly, Andrew, and that's what I'm talking about. You want to spend as little time as you can in this place right here, the pit lane that Roger Resende is in, and we'll see. Is the window open to make it to the end? I'd imagine so. With 17 minutes into the round, he's bringing Scott Reister in as well.
Some cars started from the pit lane, it looks like. Eric Goldner, Miguel Colon, and Wayne Castile. But Resende out of the pit lane, that's bringing Scott Reister, as you mentioned. So pit stops for some drivers already, and Resende getting that angle out of the box takes a fast repair. I'm sure Scott will do the same, and yes, he has. So getting that car reset. Lucas Souza also on the pit lane. Overshoots his box. No, maybe not. I guess the box is a little bit wider here than I thought, or I guess longer potentially, as Resende will head back onto the racetrack. And here comes Scott Reister.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines down there, right? A lot of racing series use this pit lane. The IndyCar boxes, the NASCAR boxes actually really, the IndyCar boxes are huge. So there's lines all over the pit lane down there, and I guess it's really where your little pit crew with the lollipop is standing. That's where you're stopping.
Damon Duckworth on the pit lane taking a service, but how about our leaders, Emerson? Dino Filippa now within a second of Victor Miranda. He was much further back to start this run off, and he has since closed in. I theorized about the potential of this being a more difficult race win for him, but as he closes in on car 1, maybe it'll be easier than we thought.
Yeah, Dino showing that, why he's up there in the points, and why he's going to be able to give Victor Miranda a hard time again. To look back at Montreal, Andrew, just how many times Miranda had to try to go for it down in turn 13, right? He had 4 or 5 tries down there before he eventually just cut it too much. He wasn't able to get it, all right? This is now, I wonder if that's sticking with him. I wonder if he's going to try to defend really hard or do something in the way he races, especially for this lead, especially against Dino Filippa, because of how difficult it was last week.
Yeah, we saw 3, 4, 5 attempts into the Wall of Champions, and eventually never did make that pass, but Dino went on to win, and I guess that was a pretty difficult win, let's be honest, for Dino, having to hold off the previous champion, but things are going to be a little bit different tonight as Victor's right on that wall into turn 1. You can see just how close these guys get in that braking zone, and the way that car settled for Dino, that rear end stuck out a little bit. With 31 minutes to go, maybe this rear tire is going away just a tiny bit for car 71. That's going to make it tough.
Certainly, and again, there's a lot of sweepers here, Andrew. We mentioned that at the top of the amateur show, all right? A lot of sweepers, a lot of corners where you're leaning on the outside tires, and you need those tires to be in tip-top shape to get you around this lap quickly and efficiently. You don't want to be having to play with the throttle, trying to keep the car straight. You don't want to be having to correct the steering wheel through those sweepers.
Look now at 3rd and 4th, Lauren Zavadil and Giuliano Romagnolo. Zavadil from SimCity Racing, one of the top teams in the 24 Hours of Watkins Glen that we covered back in May. And Giuliano Romagnolo, the leading coach over at Maradnis Driver Coaching. Giuliano with a chance here to turn 12, and he's going to think about it, but to hold himself back. Pressures Lawrence to go wide, though. Now 13. Oh, a big move to the inside from Giuliano Romagnolo, and I think Lawrence knew that was coming. Gives him the inside, but now Lawrence on the inside for turn 14 to get back onto the oval. Brilliant racing between these two.
Here we go again, but on the front straightaway, nose to tail. It is not over. A huge run. He'll pull out now, side by side down the front straightaway. Who breaks later into 1?
That's going to be Giuliano Romagnolo. No surprise, I think, in that battle. He is just so good on the brakes into that first corner. Takes that spot away. And now, can he make up the 4 seconds to these guys? Victor Miranda, Dino Filippa through the backstretch chicane.
you know how he'll make it up if they start battling.
Yep.
And they start.
Yeah, if we start to see
whichever off
a
the line.
repeat maybe from Montreal last week, it's going to be a prime opportunity for Giuliano to reel them in. All the while, look at these guys. Matthew Denge putting pressure on Marcelo Canoff, this for 5th.
Got battles all around this field, similar to the amateur race, right? I mean, again, little couplets, little battles all over the place. This is great stuff.
Including these guys. Ryan Kerr, Trey Drawhorn rather. Your Pro-Am leaders. I mean, there's stuff happening everywhere as Victor Miranda gets very, very heavily pressured from Dino Filippo. It's getting more and more. The pressure is being laid on heavier and heavier. And they'll exit turn 14, and I think Dino's going to have a prime opportunity finally into turn 1. Potentially the best opportunity he's had yet as they both washed out of that concrete wall.
And Andrew, that turn 14 wall, it comes closer. That front shoulder wall comes closer and closer to that windshield every lap. And here comes a lunge. No! Filippo will file back in the braking zone.
I'm so surprised they can do that and not spin the car. Usually, if you throw the car around heading into a braking zone, it's going to get the car upset. The car is going to come around, especially in rear brake bias vehicles like this Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. It's so tough to move around into a braking zone like that, or right before a braking zone, and have the car settled. Now, thankfully, they don't have DRS to take off extra drag off the wing, but it's still, like, the car is not settled at that point in time. It's not loaded up. I'm very surprised these guys can do that, but hats off to them.
Right, I know if you throw me into a car, if you expect me to do that move, I'll try it. I'll probably also go around, maybe take out the car in front of me as well. I'd imagine a lot of that is probably brake control, right? And playing with the brake as you make that move, and keep the car under control while you're braking, while you're steering back towards the racing line. It is just tough. And here comes another lunge. I don't know if they're lunges or he's just trying to get Miranda to crack.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want to try it in 12 right now. I don't think you want to show your hand there. That said, it's still early enough in this race that you kind of can poke your nose down there and, oh, Victor's getting closer. He's got to watch the left rear tire, rather. If he gets too close there and hits the wall too many times, he could knock the toe out, and that's going to be huge if he goes down to a braking zone with the toe out on the left rear tire, especially to turn 1, and over-rotates.
Absolutely, but again, this is tip-top racing going on here, and again, everybody up here in these top 3 battles here in the top 6, all through the field.
And for the Pro-Am lead, Ryan Kerr still over Trey Drawhorn, Mitchell Johnson close, so your top 3 in Pro-Am in the top 10. And your first car that is pitted today is Eric Goldner in position 12. He is just across the start-finish line, down to turn 1 now. Teammates at Energy Sim Sport with race leader Victor Miranda, and reigning champion, by the way, in car 1. That's why he's sporting that esteemed number. They've just gone by, it looks like. Is that Wayne Castile? Yes, it is, in car 3. So going by the Lap Madness Pro-Am machine. Coming up to halfway, Emerson. When does the move come?
Again, I think this is... Well, I said I think, nothing's going to happen until after the pit stops in Montreal. And then, it happened like 2 or 3 times before the pit stop. But I think here, Dino, he's been really close, right? He understands how many opportunities he's had to make this move. He's come out ever so close. Now, this time he's actually a little bit away from the rear end of Miranda's car. But last time, he had the optimal opportunity to try to outbrake Victor Miranda. Never, he just couldn't, or he is studying Victor, seeing what he can do, and maybe he'll try to figure out on the stops.
Close.
Wow!
So
my
close.
Goodness! Oh, near that was contact.
I think so. Dino Filippo is there. And at this point, I wonder if Victor's holding him back a little bit. They really have not left Wayne Castile in the better part of a lap, and Wayne being a lap down, you would think they would drive away from him at this point. I don't.
Save me?
I mean, Wayne did pit recently, but he wouldn't have taken tires. I'm very surprised.
Potential fuel saving.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. But at what point does Dino have enough and decide he wants to go on by?
That's fair. I don't know. Very, very difficult situation. I mean, again, 2 of the best drivers, probably the 2 best drivers in the series, clearly demonstrated with the point standings. I think they understand that, and also understand that, they just made it to halfway here in a 50-minute race. Look at this. This is still Dench and Kanoff still.
Dench with no great opportunity there. As here we go, lapped cars now for the Pro-Am leaders. This, I think, is a good place to sit for a moment, but, well, Dino Filippa says, nope, you can't sit back there because I'm going to go snake around with Victor Miranda for the race lead. This is down to turn 1. And we'll watch these guys get through the first quarter, and then we'll go back to our Pro-Am lead because that's getting spicy as Trey Drawhorn is going to have an opportunity potentially here on Ryan Kerr. They go across the start-finish line and begin lap 19 of an expected 35. And here we go, Trey to the inside.
Can he get onto the brakes late enough? He is ahead going into the corner. And he does get the pass complete. And I think Kerr was trying to get in behind Drawhorn a little sooner than Drawhorn wanted him behind him. And so Drawhorn takes the spot in the Pro-Am lead. That's 8th overall. Mitchell Johnson has to look on and see if there's anything left for him to have a bite of.
Ryan Kerr and Mitchell Johnson teammates, they would, I would guess, work together here, but we'll see if that's the case as Bryce Rodriguez bears down on both of them. Rodriguez, a pro driver, started 6th, I believe it was, or 4th. Very far up the order, right alongside Lauren Zavidel. I believe it was 4th alongside car 24. And, here we go, battle for the race lead. Filippa goes around and has to jam on the brakes in turn 12. That will be replay worthy here in a moment. That was for the lead, ladies and gentlemen, and Giuliano Romagnolo now only 2 seconds back.
Licking his chops. Dino went for it in 12. You wondered if it was enough, Andrew. I think Dino finally got fed up. He even tried it in 12 instead of maybe down into 1 or 7.
Let's check it out.
And, yep, look at this.
Dino goes to the inside, peels down there, and very similar to the win in amateur, gets down to the inside though, hits the curb before Victor Miranda, makes contact, they wash out, and what a slide for Dino. That's going to be tough on his tires as he tries to settle back in and get back after Victor Miranda. And Emerson, I can't tell if Victor is down on pace or if he's just trying to save that much fuel because Giuliano and Dino are both closing way in. Giuliano's only 1.2 seconds behind. Or, I'm sorry, no. Now in 1.9. He's still made up time. I initially had looked at the delta from Giuliano to Dino. I had panicked a little bit, but still a bit of a gap.
I have a hard time believing, that he is down on pace. I mean, I don't know, because his fastest lap in the race, right? It's about a 10th and a half clear of Giuliano Romagnolo fastest lap, and he's the 2nd quickest car on track. Actually, Dino is 3rd fastest. Tied for the fastest lap with Lauren Zavidel and tied for the 3rd fastest lap. So I don't know if Miranda's maybe just used up his stuff or he's reserving pace or saving fuel or saving tires to go later. It is a little puzzling.
We've seen this in other races, I feel like, where Victor is oddly off pace. We feel like he should be faster. I don't think it was last week at Montreal, certainly with him trying to put pressure on Dino all race, but in other races we've seen Victor just be a little bit off and not really know why, and maybe it's a bit of a strategy move as, well, Trey Drawhorn holds the lead in Pro-Am, but now Bryce Rodriguez had a moment on Mitchell Johnson and now comes into the pit lane.
Yeah, we're now 30 minutes into this race, or 29, I guess. Bryce Rodriguez working his way down the pit lane for the fuel stop. And still watching Dan, trying to see, is there anything he has, any advantage he can find on Marcelo Kanoff through 5 and 6, and just not really pulling back straightaway.
Well, we'll watch these guys go at it. A big shout out to our social media out today, Ed Scherer, filling in these last couple of weeks. We hope to have Emerson back on socials, I guess, but we hope to have JP back next week at Suzuka and hopefully for the finale at Bathurst as well. Unfortunately, just hasn't been in the cards these last couple of weeks, so best of wishes and best of luck, hopefully, to JP Costa being back with us for the back 2 rounds of this championship. But a big shout out to Emerson stepping in on the mic and Ed stepping in on social media. Guys out there watching, by all means, give these guys a big thank you. They have filled in a fantastic way and kept the quality of production here at Pit Stop TV, the quality of show here very, very high, along with our usual show. So great stuff from Emerson and Ed filling in these last couple of weeks in different roles as to what they would usually be in on a Thursday evening. Matthew Dench here on Marcelo Kanoff. Does he have a chance at a turn 1?
I feel like he's had a chance almost all race.
But he's saving.
Oh, that's right. Andrew, that slipped my mind. You showed that he was coasting earlier on in the race. I think he's A-okay to sit right behind Kenov. Maybe he's using it for the slipstream down the straightaways.
Yeah, if we pull the telemetry here, you should see into turn 7 that the revolutions per minute will drop. The RPMs will drop. Watch this. Actually, you have to come back to this screen. We'll watch this number here. Yeah, it goes way down. Way down as he enters the corner. So definitely saving here for Matthew Dench, putting the clutch into the corner, trying to save all the fuel he can.
Yeah. Again, Indianapolis has a wicked long pit lane. I mean, we're seeing times of 55 seconds down there. So again, the less time you can spend there, I mean, 55, that's 2/3 of a lap, 55 seconds. And Felipe trying again. That's a little out of a passing zone, but it's been done before down in 14. Trying to chase down Victor Miranda once again.
When do we have round 2, Emerson? We saw 5 at Montreal last week, if not more. Do we see round 2, 3, 4, 5 here at Indianapolis as Dino closes in, 18 minutes to go?
Oh my goodness! I'm just thinking, what if Miranda flips it on Dino like last week, where he lets Dino pass and then he pits.
That's been a strategy we've seen so many times before. Go back to Andre Melchers in seasons past with GT3 cars and Porsche Cup cars last season. Seasons 3 and 1 respectively, if you will. We've seen that be employed, where a driver will let somebody by and then pit, or will make the pass and then pit. We've seen that kind of strategy where you make a move one way or the other and then suddenly come into the pit lane and get inside the head of the other driver. And JP, I know, always loves those moves, especially from Andre last season, where Andre would usually be on the passing side. He would make a pass and then immediately pit. And it's like, well, why'd you pass me? Well, getting inside the head. It's all a competition.
Absolutely. Man.
Oh, Dino! He hit him a little bit, but stayed off just enough. Got the car wound down just enough to not cause a crash. And here comes Giuliano. These tires for Dino are getting worse and worse. And if he wants to stay competitive, he can't take a set, but I think he needs a set right now.
Well, for what it's worth, Dino's had the pace advantage. Certainly, it seemed anyway in this first stint of the race. And here comes Kenov out of the 5th position. But if Dino's had that pace advantage, maybe it's going to even out here with Victor Miranda, and it'll be intriguing to see Giuliano Romagnolo, see where he fits in all this. And again, Romagnolo, 2nd fastest lap of the day, trying to see if there's anything up here amongst the top 2.
It's a proper 3-car race. Could be 4 if Lauren Zavadil can hang on, and Wayne Castile has not gone away for these guys as well. Wayne Castile, a lapped car, are going to play maybe into this in these next few moments. He's already made his pit stop, so really it's only going to be in the next couple of minutes that it's in effect, and we could see these guys pit this lap. I think this will be the next money lap for these guys. We should see, as 8 cars stay on the racetrack, we should see them all come in. Actually, 10 cars still have not pitted. Eric Goldner, Miguel Colon into the top 10 currently by some pit strategy and staying out an extra lap. They have not pitted yet. They all are, the top 10 all need to pit this lap, I think.
Yeah, very soon. I'm also intrigued to see if Matthew Dench is able to stretch it out another lap or 2 with all that saving.
Here comes, here they come.
The race into the pit lane.
And your leaders will come in nice and orderly, but definitely closing in is Dino Felipe on. Victor Miranda. Giuliano made a little bit of time up, but I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Wow. Just seeing him get hard on the brakes there. And again, every little bit you can. And right there, Matthew Dench takes the lead as well with all that fuel saving.
Dino Felipe closing in. We'll watch the pro leaders go through their pit stop, then recap what's going on down in Pro-Am, because it looks like those guys are in as well. Here's Trey Drawhorn on the pit lane, Ryan Curran right behind him. So they're going to have a very similar situation, as Matthew Dench actually stayed out that lap. We've seen him do that in races prior, where he goes that extra lap with as much as he was saving. I'm not entirely surprised. But here are your race leaders. Victor Miranda, Dino Felipe. Felipe launches first, and is going to be inside of that one car is... Oh boy, as they get released here, you have to stay at pit limiter speed until that green cone. And now Dino challenging to the inside of the pit lane. Oh my goodness, almost got to him.
Oh my goodness, Andrew, that is great stuff. Racing to the apex of the pit exit lane. That is awesome. But Dina, he feels it now, right? He made a ball that time once again. The third time he chased down Victor Miranda, and they're gonna go at it.
Into turn 7, is there a move? Victor stays defensive. Dino's going to have to go around the outside. Victor moves over to the braking zone. Nearly contact between these two. Neither of them taking their fast repair. Both of them taking less fuel than Giuliano Romagnolo. Giuliano fell way back in this pit cycle, 3 seconds back. That's painful for him to swallow. And Matthew's going an extra lap. The amount of fuel he has saved behind Marcelo Canoff today is impressive.
I just wonder what kind of repercussions it's going to have on Varese. You know, does he gain a spot?
Whoa.
Does he get up here? Whoa! Felipe sideways through 12 and 13. That's been where Felipe's felt the most confident, and he has also had the most trouble today is 12 and 13.
Your Pro-Am leader is still Trey Drawhorn, as here comes Victor Miranda's teammate, Eric Goldner. I promise it's Eric Goldner. You can't quite see because he started from the pit lane, but you can see Trey Drawhorn on track ahead of Rice Rodriguez. A 2-second gap between those two as they filter back on to the front stretch. His nearest competition, Emerson, is nearly 4 seconds back. That's Mitchell Johnson. Ryan Kerr is behind him, so it's looking like a surefire W as long as things hold for Trey Drawhorn, currently in the 8th position, as Goldner makes his way back onto the racetrack. Scott Reister, by the way, after the lap 1 shenanigans, he is down in 16th spot. I guess it was lap 2 shenanigans where he got completely wiped out by Damon Duckworth, who is now 21st out of this race by 14 laps. Scott working on Louis Santi. This is for 15th.
And to think we thought, you know, the momentum of the Pro-Am category was in Scott Reister's hands, but then you look at the driver, he kind of, you know, came in hot with a great podium run. I believe Rhett Coda was his first start. And Trey Drawhorn, that's who the first start was at Coda. Trey Drawhorn has just absolutely been on it since with the class victory at Montreal and looking to see if we can get another here at Indianapolis. So the momentum shift in the Pro-Am category has been fun to watch this season.
Watching our leaders down the front stretch. 12 minutes to go, Emerson. This is going to get interesting as Matthew Dench will finally pit. We'll see where he comes out in a moment. He's already on his way out of the pit lane, actually. So here he comes. Does he make it ahead of Marcelo Canoff? I would imagine so. Marcelo is heading down to him. And Matthew Dench there on the inside. He'll get Marcelo, but, I mean, hey, it works. He gained a lot of time out of it. I just wonder if he could have gained more time by simply running faster. He was clearly better than Marcelo Canoff in those opening laps, and I think maybe could have made more time up that way.
Intriguing, but Dench just get that spot is at the moment solidly in the top 5. A lot of curbing there in 7 for Dino Filippa, and the battle continues on. I was going to say, if Miranda was saving anything in that first, and it's time to use it all up now. Final 11 minutes. He's opened up a gap. We'll see. Dino, he's losing a lot of time. I wonder if maybe there was a corner cut and he had to slow down.
I would imagine so. Turn 7. Let's see him bleed this off, I guess, and give the time up. I know that was a problem for me a couple of weeks ago. Thankfully, usually I would run number 71, but that was taken by Jeremiah Stutzman over in Outlaws. So I had to run number 90, but I feel for Dino on that one, having to give that time up. Let's go back and see what happened in turn 7 and just how much time he cut. It wasn't much, but iRacing, of course, will penalize you for it regardless. They're not worried about how much time you gain, just the fact that you gained time. So let's go back and get a proper look at this. And we'll see if we can kind of track where he goes in all of this. Oh, and actually, Emerson, I see more to this. Watch all of this headed through the backstretch chicane. There's a lot more to this story because you can see Dino get the advantage to the right side of Victor Miranda, and there's that contact right there. That's the corner cut through the chicane in turn 5.
Yeah, that was clearly all 4 tires over that apex curbing, which is what iRacing defines is the track limits for that corner. And yeah, that's about 1.5, 2 seconds. You got to give up there.
Let's watch it from this view. See all of this happen. It's maybe a bit of netcode, sure, but still contact, and that sends Dino through that chicane, cutting the course. And that's going to change the course of this one. It might be Victor Miranda's day finally to get another win here in the North American Racing League as he leads with just 9 minutes to go at Indianapolis.
Here we go. This is what I've been wanting to see. If Dino got his slowdown cleared by turn 12 last lap, I want to see the laps here. And Dino is 2/10 faster than Victor Miranda, Andrew. And how much time is left in this race? It's going to be really close.
If we had F1's predictor of when he'd be within striking distance, it would be on that last lap. Making 2/10 up with 6 laps to go, 7 laps to go. It would put him right on that last lap, catching Victor Miranda. It could even be with 2 laps to go. So Filippo will be within striking distance if he can maintain this, but as we've seen before, Emerson, it's easy to make up time and use the tires up, but sometimes to cool those tires back down, you might get them beyond that optimal operating temperature and not be able to use them fully to their advantage. I think that's a story in Formula One. That's a story here on iRacing. That is just a fact of racing. Sometimes they push the tires a little too hard, so we'll see what Filippo can do here.
I have to wait and see. Again, it's already down to under a second on the fluctuating gap. There it is there on the bottom right. Filippo is on it, and I wonder if he knows or if he feels it was netcode or just the racing incident. I wonder if that's the feeling or feels different about the contact down at 5 and 6.
Victor pulls a little bit onto the front stretch, so it across the line is just over 1 second with now 6 laps expected to go. It might even be 5 based on timing. ETVO tells us that we should get 35 laps, but we only have 7.5 minutes to go. That's going to be tough to get 6 more laps in as we're on to lap 30. Dino closes in big time there in turn 4. We're kind of just waiting, I think even Victor's just waiting. Can he make that time up? Is there going to be a challenge at the back end of this race? On the power, out of the chicane, man, he's made up a half second.
I was going to say, if Filippo's on it, I don't know if there's any more waiting anymore. I was going to say, last lap, Dino gained 4/10 over Victor Miranda last lap, and this time it's looking to do about more or less the same.
Dino's really good on the backside of the circuit. I think Victor's really good out of turn 14 and back through the first sector. So kind of interesting how these two drivers are deferring, and I think it comes down to the setup a lot as well. These races, the Pro and Pro-Am races, are open setup, Emerson, whereas the amateur races are fixed setup to the VRS setup from Pascal. So very interesting how these two cars are handling differently, how these two drivers are driving differently, and where their strengths lie. And now that striking distance prediction, Emerson, I think is this lap or the next lap. And as we work on the lap 31 of an expected 35 with 6 minutes to go, I think we're only going to go to 34 laps though.
It'll be intriguing. It'll be close as well. Into the corner. It looked like Miranda actually got a little wide, but he was able to hit the apex. Gets on the throttle a little bit better out of 2. That's also a very important traction zone, right? Getting through 2, setting yourself up nicely for 4 so you can get a nice run onto this back straightaway. That traction zone out of 2 is tough.
Oh, Filippo way out wide. What a catch.
Great catch, and that's not an off track out there, Andrew. That is a legal runoff area.
That's going to really hurt him. I mean, he's now almost a second back into turn 7. Sure, he's making up a lot of time, but another mistake like that, and he might not be able to get back within striking distance at all. That's going to be tough.
If you want to know how hard he's trying, he tried to get every bit through an already flat-out chicane in these cars. I mean, he is on it, Dino Filippo is.
Now to turn 12, Dino does not want to give this win up, wants to stay as perfect as he can this season. That's going to do it, though. That's the nail in the coffin. Dino way out wide in turn 12, completely missed that braking zone. Nearly 2 seconds back. I'm not sure that's going to be made up, especially with grass. Yeah, grass still on the tires, tries to get back to the throttle. I think that's it. Victor Miranda's winning this race unless something happens to him.
And, you know, Dino, he felt the pressure to try to make the move, right? And then he got his tires heated up, or he just missed the braking zone. He was just trying to gain all that he could. And the 12 just finally overshot the corner, and Dino has to feel pretty much what Victor felt last week, right? Just to chase down the lead car so many times and have so many goes and just not be able to get to it at this point.
Here's Ryan Kerr, third place now in Pro-Am, chasing his teammate Mitchell Johnson. If they can battle at the end of this race, this will be for a top 10 position, but not for the win in Pro-Am. The win in Pro-Am, if things hold, will go to Trey Drawhorn. 4 minutes to go, though, and it's never over until it's over, is it, Emerson? He's still got to hang on for these last few laps, just like Victor Miranda does. No mistakes. And he's got a healthy gap. He's got 7 seconds. He doesn't have to be on the button at all. He can lay back a little bit, but he has definitely got to keep himself on the racetrack and just stay clean.
Absolutely. And again, it's tough to do that here. Like I said at the top of the race, Andrew, laser focus, 50 laps. Each corner has something or some factor that can catch you out, and you need to be absolutely focused in. You don't have to, absolutely be pushing the pace, but you can't be, turning in a little too late, or you can't be braking a little too late into some of these corners, because, I mean, there's grass everywhere. There's giant curves everywhere. There's slowdowns. There's so many things that can get in your way of just trying to close this deal out.
As these guys close this race out, Victor Miranda over Dino Filippa and Giuliano Romagnolo. A shout out to our partners once again with the North American Racing League, Virtual Racing School, Maradness, Tam Livery, JS Consulting, all doing so much here for NARL, a series we know well and love very much at this point here at Pit Stop TV. We've been with them for a little over a year. In fact, covering our first event for them about the same time that we kicked this season off, the middle of June in 2021. And since then, we've put together, this is now the 5th season of racing with the North American Racing League. And we've had 4 special events, 2 streamer championships, and 2 endurance races of 4 hours and 24 hours, respectively, at Long Beach and Watkins Glen. A lot of great times have been had with the North American Racing League, and we look forward to whatever happens for GT3 season number 4 later on this year. If drivers are interested, they can keep an eye on NorthAmericanRacingLeague.com. Sign-ups are not open yet. I don't want to give the falsity there, but it's coming. It'll happen, I think, a couple of weeks after the conclusion of this series, and this series wraps up after August 11th at Mount Panorama Circuit. We've got tonight in Indianapolis, next week at Suzuka, then round number 8, August 11th at Mount Panorama Circuit in Australia. So still a couple of exciting rounds to go. We will get a full 35 laps in here, Emerson, just barely by about 7-8 seconds or so. Actually, no, about 10, as these guys chipped on by the start-finish line. But a big shout out to VRS, Maradness, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting. Two laps to go. The gaps are really not closing in anywhere. We had such a fantastic start to the day, Emerson. These guys are too spread out to do anything with it now. I guess that's how it goes sometimes. You have a great start, you're going to have a more spread out ending, a more spread out beginning, you might have a more exciting finish.
And again, I mean, it was a great race. So these drivers, I think, have all left it out on the track, right? I mean, we've seen everybody kind of give it their all, use all their stuff, or as much as their stuff as they can, to try to get all they can, and to that, it's kind of just bring it home. It's that mentality. And Victor Miranda is actually going to come with a lot of time to the start-finish line. But it will be the last lap, nonetheless, for Victor Miranda. And again, a great drive to get to this point.
It'll be about 20 seconds left, so I'll take the heat on that one. 20 seconds left on the timer when they take the white flag here, presented by Whiplash Simcams. Giuliano goes by. Here comes Lauren Zavadil. Matthew Dench squarely in 5th, well ahead of Marcelo Canoff now. The only battle I see on track is Ryan Kerr and Eric Goldner starting to shape up as they work through turn 14. Goldner, a pro driver, teammates with Victor Miranda, Energy Sim Sport. Kerr chasing his teammate of Mitchell Johnson, but I think it's more likely Eric gets to Ryan than Ryan gets to Mitchell. By the way, here's our race leader down the backstretch at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and into turn number 7. He's got just a handful of corners to go and really only about 1, 2, 3 more braking zones, Emerson. The Energy Sim Sport Metro Network number 1 heads through turn number 10 now. And Victor Miranda has but one heavy braking zone to go at Indy before he wraps up this race win. A big one for him, especially after the challenges at Montreal last week. We counted out to round 5 into turn 13 and 14 before finally he was not able to take that win. It went to Dino Filippa. And now Victor Miranda will exit turn 13, the final braking zone on the course, to get back on the power all the way to the start-finish line and claim a race win. And he needs this one too, 15 points behind Dino Filippa. This is a much-needed win for Victor Miranda at Indianapolis.
Intriguing there just to lock up the race right after the finish line there. Right? That caused Dino to take some avoiding action.
Well, you know why? He threw the car around and didn't want to take incidents. That could have been a penalty. The race, by the way, in case you're not clear with iRacing, we know a lot of you guys watching are not. iRacing will keep counting incidents as you see some of these guys fly on by. Ryan Kerr, by the way, holding on to that 11th spot over Eric Goldner. Trey Drawhorn did win in Pro-Am. We don't want to take any energy away from that. Big props to Trey putting together another race win. Another fantastic day, this time in Indianapolis. But the reason you saw Victor lock down the brakes there is because iRacing keeps counting incidents for all drivers until they park and escape, or until all lead lap cars cross the start-finish line and end the race. So until Lowy Santi finishes this race, Emerson, those incidents still could have counted if he had crashed, and that could have been a penalty added on to Victor Miranda. That could have lost him the race.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I guess he was celebrating with the snaking down the front straightaway and was trying to catch it. Wow. Oh, that would have been pretty bad, especially, where you need those points to keep up with the battle that he has with Dino Filippa in the standings.
Let's go ahead and go through our race results quickly while we get on drivers to meet with us for some interviews. Victor Miranda takes the victory this evening at Indianapolis and Emerson. That's a big one, I think, for him. It's not going to be the 15 points he needs in the championship, but it's still going to be 15 or however many points to help him towards that total. And I think a big swing in momentum into the final 2 rounds tonight, or the rest of the season. Really big for Victor to get this win tonight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Giuliano Romagnola goes 3rd, Lauren Zavadil 4th, Matthew Dench 5th, and Marcelo Canoff, Fabio Zamperlini, Trey Drawhorn with the Pro-Am win, Bryce Rodriguez, and Mitchell Johnston. I see Heather Drawhorn saying, "See everyone next time. Don't go anywhere, Heather. We're still going to talk to Trey here in a few moments. You do not want to miss us talking to Trey here in a few moments. Stick around." As you can see, our entire top 10, Emerson, here's 11th through 20th.
Yeah, 11th place, Ryan Kerr. He held the lead in Pro-Am for so long, but to no avail. Eric Goldner had a nice little recovery through the field to get up to the 12th position. Miguel Colon comes home in the 13th position. Wayne Castile, you saw him right behind the leaders there for a while with his pit strategy, 14th position. Alex Persian will be 15th, a minute back off the race lead. Lowy Santi will come home 16th. Lucas Souza, 17th, the last car on the lead lap. Brian Zinn, 1 lap down. Scott Reister absolutely walloped in turn 1 of lap 2. Will come home across the line in 19th, 5 laps down, and Roger Resende comes home 20th, 7 down.
Finishing in the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd spots, you'll find Damon Duckworth, Thomas Rayleigh, and Luan Hott, who did not make the start of today's race. Pretty unfortunate stuff for Damon Duckworth. Not really sure what happened, but just a braking error to turn 1 took him out. In that contact with Scott Reister, he made a few more laps, but eventually parked it. Thomas Rayleigh there in the 22nd spot. Issues very, very early and just never got back on track. So let's go ahead and bring in, it looks like, our top 2 from Pro-Am. Still waiting on our top 2 pro drivers. We're going to lead off with, of course, race winner Trey Drawhorn. And Trey, it's another fantastic run at Indianapolis. This one, though, was a bit more odd. Let's start with that rolling start. How did you guys approach that?
To be honest, I tried to approach it kind of like, I mean, that one, it was hard. Honestly, just...
Well, first of all, did you guys know that rolling start was on the way? Did you guys know that rolling start was going to be a factor? Did you guys see the amateur race at all?
No, I actually didn't watch it. But I think it was Scott that told in the chat that it might be a rolling start. And so I was like, uh-oh. what's my game plan? Because I usually have my game plan for when we're like on the starting, just standing start. So honestly, my game plan was just to make sure kept it safe and give enough space in front so that if something were to happen and like the iguana effect, or like the effect where everybody stops and stuff, that I just make sure to stay clear of that.
So it's another win 2 weeks in a row now for you. This is some big momentum going into the final couple of rounds. Suzuka and Bathurst left to go, and you're making up a lot of ground despite coming into the series late. Do you think you can close in on that championship? And if so, how do you do so at Suzuka and Bathurst?
I think I can. It's just a matter of making sure I stay safe on the track and make sure to get solid finishes. Just I guess in like the top 5, making sure to keep it clean and not do anything too much over the top. You know what I mean?
Well, there you go. Trey Drawhorn headed out to Suzuka in Japan and Bathurst in Australia with a bit of a game plan for these last couple of rounds. Trey, congratulations tonight at Indianapolis. Best of luck to you in the final 2 races here this season. Maybe you can go ahead and get yourself a championship. Sure would like to see it for car 395. Best of luck to you, buddy.
Thank you so much, guys.
Trey Drawhorn enters this series a bit late, but is going to have a solid effort behind him as he heads out to Suzuka, Japan next week. Let's go on down, though, Emerson, to our second place finisher in Pro-Am, and that is Mitchell Johnson in car 21 for Baradnas. A good night for them.
And a great run for the 21 of Mitchell Johnson. And Mitchell, again, a pretty chaotic race. There was a lot going on there. But first, the rolling start, how'd you approach that? I know that's not typically what you do here in the North American Race League, but how'd you feel going through it all? And looked pretty calm, I guess, the actual start procedures.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think a lot of guys ended up watching that AM race, and we kind of saw and knew what to expect. Luckily for me, my standing starts haven't really been that good recently, so it was kind of a sigh of relief for me, actually, because I didn't have, the possibility of cooking my rears, you know what I mean? So it just is what it is. You kind of just got to take it how it comes.
So, of course, you gained a few spots throughout the race, started 14th, ran 10th overall, and, of course, it's second, good enough for second in the Pro-Am category. What was that like working your way through the field? Kind of having some of the pro guys come through, like Bryce, and working through with Ryan, just seeing everybody kind of come and go and work your way through the Pro-Am field.
Yeah, I mean, after the start happened, there was a really close call, lap 2. As soon as that happened, I just tried to set my pace the best I could and kind of just get into that mindset of racing. I clipped the wall, I think like lap 3 or 4, so I did have aero damage, and just took it how it came and just kept turning laps out and ended up undercutting, came into the pits a lap early and it worked out. So
sweet deal. You got Suzuka coming up. How do you feel about your chances heading out to Japan?
It's going to be really good. Obviously, the Maradness boys, we put in a lot of work. All my teammates, Coach Stu, we put in a lot of time and a lot of work, especially too with our sponsor Oceana Coffee. They pay for half of our coaching, so they come in big time. So it's going to be good, I think, for all of us. I think we're gonna definitely put the work in, and we're ready for next week.
Right on. Well, it is second place in Pro-Am and the top 10 overall as well. Nothing, not too shabby. So a great run for you tonight here at the new Indianapolis Road Course. Best of luck to you next week at Suzuka, and hopefully we're talking to you then.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Thanks for the broadcast.
Mitchell Johnson, a fantastic run this evening here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, since we don't have JP back just yet, we're going to do things a bit differently. We're going to go down to Dino Filippo first. This interview, well, I'll be asking questions in English as we've done so the last couple of weeks, but he'll be responding in, I believe it's Spanish, it could be Portuguese, but he'll be responding in his native language so his fans can hear him. Let's bring in Dino Filippo. And Dino, it was nearly another win for you, but congratulations on a second place. How did your race go?
Hola, gente. Bien, salió una carrera un poco diferente a lo que había pensado. En la primera vuelta me pasa uno, así que bueno, trato de ahorrar gomas un poco en las primeras vueltas, un poco de combustible. Y después le llegué a Víctor y bueno, intenté pasarlo varias veces, pero bueno, no se me dio. Y nada, al final termino cometiendo un error por ir tan al límite que no me deja intentar algún sobrepaso en las últimas vueltas, pero bueno, contento. Un segundo puesto me sirve mucho para el campeonato.
So I know little bits and pieces, of Spanish, and I heard a couple of things there. I heard un poco, which of course is a little, and then I heard contenta, and that means happy. I'm right. So clearly you're still happy with this effort. How do you go to next week at Suzuka and try and capitalize, I guess, on holding this lead, whatever you will have left over Victor, since of course he gets the win? How do you hold that next week at Suzuka?
Sí, no, a ver, el campeonato importa, pero también las carreras, a mí me gusta ir a ganarlas. No voy a especular con los puntos. Esta carrera tranquilamente me pudiese haber quedado segundo y hacer una carrera mucho más prolija, pero intenté arriesgar y ir por la victoria. No me salió, pero la próxima semana vamos a ir por la victoria nuevamente. Y en las últimas dos que quedan, en las últimas dos vamos a ir por la victoria. Más allá de los puntos del campeonato, lo que me importa mucho son las carreras.
There you go. Dino Filippo, a second place effort tonight. Best of luck to you, Dino. I know next week is going to be big for you to get back on the points. We'll see you next week at Suzuka. Best of luck there.
Bueno, nos estaremos viendo la semana que viene. Espero que nos estaremos viendo por acá. Así que bueno, mandar un saludo a todos los chicos del Discord, a la gente de Auris. Y bueno, a todos ustedes por el campeonato. Nos vemos la semana que viene.
Big thank you there, Dino, for his time. And we'll move on down the line, Emerson. Victor Miranda does take the victory this evening at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I believe Victor, at least, is serviceable in English. So here is Victor Miranda, race winner tonight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And Victor Miranda, you get it done after a hard battle last week at Montreal. You have the race here at Indy. You were on the other end of it. Dino was the one trying to pass you all throughout the race, and you were able to fend him off, even though it seemed like Dino was a little quicker. How did the race go from your point of view?
The race was so hard. The tire is hot. I spent so much brain here, and Dino has a much better pace on mid final race. But my speed was so fast on the start, and this is it. One win, and let's go to the next.
And it seems like this week and last race at Montreal, you and Dino have been right up there with the pace. 1-2, both of you. What's that racing been like over the course of the season? And then, how do you feel should you two have to battle once again at Suzuka?
Dino is a so fast driver, and it's a lot of fun battle with him. But I guess on Suzuka, the battle was on start the race, because the tires was I don't know how to say on in English, but em português os pneus vão ficar muito quente, então é difícil dizer.
All right, well, Victor, again, it was a very, very difficult race, but a hard-fought win. Congratulations on the win here at Indianapolis. Best luck to you next week at Suzuka as you try to chase down Dino for the championship.
Thank you, Emerson.
There you go, Victor Miranda giving us some thoughts after a hard-fought round here and a hard-fought win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Definitely a big win for him. Again, we can bring up the standings as they came into tonight, and you can see where Victor comes in 15 points back. We didn't have Ricardo Rico, so this should be Ricardo's drop week from our knowledge competition. Hopefully nothing to do with Spa last weekend, but definitely is going to hold him back a little bit as far as gaining, but it shouldn't hold him back as far as losing points. He shouldn't lose anything out of this. We'll see how kind of things work out after Suzuka next week, I suppose, when we go to Bathurst. But yeah, we'll see just kind of how these guys all sort out. And over on the Pro-Am side, Scott Reiser is going to lose a lot out of this Emerson. Ryan Kerr should make up some ground, and Trey Drawhorn is getting ever closer to contending for a championship.
Right, Andrew, and you think back to the incident on lap 2, and Scott, just an innocent bystander, absolutely wallop. He actually he didn't even finish the race, so he's credited with 19th place overall. Meanwhile, you have Drawhorn 8th overall and Kerr 11th overall. A huge run of points in their favor. This is going to really tighten up in the Pro-Am category. It's going to be really spicy over the next couple of weeks.
So there you go. Round number 6 here from Indianapolis wraps up, which means we're on to Suzuka International Racing Course next week on August the 4th, 2022. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see how Suzuka goes. It's a course that isn't frequented on iRacing all that often. It's not used very often on iRacing anymore, but I am very much a Suzuka stan, if you will, a Suzuka supporter, certainly, and I'm excited to see how these cars will do there next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this, again, overbearing Formula One presence on this schedule has been a lot of fun as well. Definitely a change in pace from some other tracks that we've seen before, and I like this, but I'm also excited to get back to other tracks. We'll see how it goes for the GT3 schedule coming up. I've got a sneak peek from Scott, and I'm telling you, it's going to be fun. But let's go ahead and take some... Let's back up first and take a look at upcoming broadcasts here on Pit Stop TV, beginning with Sunday when we come right back here, Emerson, but the older version on the Indianapolis Oval at 9 p.m. Eastern with the MPI Cup Series. Then Wednesday we go to Phoenix Raceway for the Outlaws Sim Series, and Thursday it's a trip out to Suzuka with, of course, the North American Racing League. So an interesting slate coming up this week, Emerson, and plenty of places to keep up with us here at Pit Stop TV.
Absolutely. You can check out all of the social media coverage from tonight done by Ed Shearer, and of course all of the updates for all of our leagues here at Pit Stop TV at our Facebook page at facebook.com/Pit Stop TV. You can check out our Instagram at Pit_Stop_TV, or the link right there. Twitter at Pit Stop TV _, the link right there. And our YouTube channel, of course, where we're live tonight, youtube.com/Pit Stop TV1. Our Twitch channel, we were also live there tonight, same as our Instagram, twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV.
So there you go. Round number 6 wraps up from Indianapolis. Emerson, what do you make of all of this, and how do you see things changing, I guess, going into round 7 next week in Japan?
Well, I think actually this is a pretty good timing for this update. I feel like this track actually matched up pretty well with Montreal, so similar layouts, but Suzuka next week is going to be absolutely different, a much longer, larger course, a lot more elevation change, and a whole plethora of different corner types that we're going to see there. I think it's really going to extract the best of the best out of these drivers, and I think potentially we're going to have another rap matchup with Miranda and Felipe, unless somebody else wants to step into the fold and see what's going to happen next week at Suzuka.
It'll definitely be a lot of fun in a week's time. Congratulations to our winners tonight. In the Pro and Pro-Am race, we had Victor Miranda and Trey Drawhorn going to victory lane. Over on the amateur side, it was that Miranda's car. Davis Stevenson, that's right, in car 55. Some fantastic winners, some fantastic battles, a whole lot of drama and storylines to fulfill whatever prophecies you might have about this series. A whole lot's changing, and a whole lot is left to change these upcoming weeks here in the North American Racing League on Pit Stop TV. A big thank you to our partners, of course, the North American Racing League, VRS, Maradness, Tam Livery, JS Consulting, and our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. A thank you as well to those of us on the crew this evening. Of course, Emerson Arden and Ed Shearer joining us this evening and doing a fantastic job. As I said, filling in. Hope to have JP back with us next week for Suzuka. We'll see how that one goes. But regardless, It'll be a whole lot of fun. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. Thanks for watching this evening. Thanks for joining us on Pit Stop TV. By all means, drop a like, drop a subscription, drop a follow, wherever you're watching from. Let us know you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and we will see you next time, hopefully Sunday, for the MPI Cup Series right back here at Indianapolis. Good night.